What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to I don't even know what day it is. It's Wednesday, right? A Wednesday edition of House Divided. I'm right? It's Wednesday. It could have been Tuesday, and you could have totally, if you told me, Chad, it was Tuesday, I'd have just gone with it. Welcome to a second Tuesday edition of House Divided. I'm Geoff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings.
You're damn right.
Yeah, damn right.
Damn right. Are we good today, Ketch? Are we good? Are we ready to roll on a Wednesday? Starting out not knowing the day. That I don't know what
that should tell you. That's the giveaway. That's the giveaway. Are you ready for the show today? Yes, it's Friday. Let's have at it.
Hey, let me tell you the beauty. The beauty of my co-host Geoff Ketchum is you never have to wonder. You don't wonder what he's thinking. You don't wonder what he's feeling. He wears it all on the sleeve. So right before we got started, I was like, all right, man, you good? You ready? We going? And he says to me, you're going to get what you get from me today. And I'm like, okay.
It's about as good as you're going to get.
About as good as you're going to get. Exactly. Felt like every time I asked a girl out in high school, it's about as good as you're going to get. Okay, whatever. I'll take what I can get on a Wednesday.
My fours are, look, my voice is changing. I'm going through puberty like you do sometimes. My fours are as good as my tens. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Guys, we're going to talk a lot of recruiting today. So there's that. It's essentially the default. It's like, I'm not feeling real good. I could really use like another 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Let's just talk recruiting and give updates on that. Because Lord knows I can do that in my sleep. Do us a solid. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Even if it's not an A game catch today, I'm going to perform. I'm going to be there. There may be times, though, because we've got a couple of guests planned today. Where when we're talking to our guests, I might do that thing that I did with John Harris yesterday.
Show us the listening stare, Ketch. There it is. There it is. Hey, and first and foremost, let's thank 17,000 subscribers. We've hit 17,000. As Ketch said, the ultimate goal is 5 billion. But you know what? 20,000 is between there and that. 20,000 is a good goal. Next up would be 18,000. Let's just keep hitting those big round numbers. Tell someone you know to subscribe to the channel, get your notifications and all that good stuff.
Tell everybody that you know. Let's not be squeamish about this.
That's fair. Tell everybody you know. Good point.
At 1:20, Corey Mose will join us from KView. He's one of the, I think, young shining stars in the Austin media market. He's going to bring the energy that I may lack today. So Corey's going to join us at 1:20. I planned that out perfectly. Get somebody who can supplement the energy. And at 2:20, we'll bring in Jason Sukamel. We'll talk a little recruiting. You'll have all the bits and pieces of the House Divided show that you're always looking for. And we'll bring in some guests and things like that to make sure we fill in the spots. We will talk a little bit of recruiting today at Check because it's a Wednesday. And Wednesdays in what we do can normally be, they can be kind of weird days because you're in between what happened last Saturday and what might happen on Saturday and Sunday. And yet we haven't talked a lot of recruiting fallout since Texas beat Alabama on Saturday night. We've talked so much about offense and defense and the players inside of that. And yesterday we talked about how big of a win it was for Steve Sarkisian and his stock and what he might want in an extension and where his stock meter might be up. But today we'll talk a little bit of recruiting with the Longhorns. And I got to be honest, Chad, things are looking really good for Texas football in recruiting. I thought even before the Alabama win, but now that they've beaten Alabama, it does, I think, put gigantic rocket turbo boosters attached to everybody that they're after we always say Texas recruiting is usually pretty good no matter what. They don't even have to be good yet, and they still can get top 3, top 5 classes. What does it look like when you add all of the on-field momentum to what Texas is already doing in recruiting? And the answer is a hell of a lot. And so if you're a Texas fan, hook your IV needle up. We're going to give you a huge dopamine hit very early in this show to make you feel as good as you did yesterday and Monday and Sunday and Saturday night. This show talking about some of the recruiting success that I think lies ahead for the Longhorns starting this month, but going all the way through December and signing day. It should make everybody get the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, no, it's going to be big. We'll get into that thanks to over 100 folks that are already in the Specs chat. We appreciate that. Also, for our man, was it Adam yesterday asking for Wyoming talk? I think that was his name on the chat. Coming up at 12:40, start to dig into Wyoming a little bit. I do think it's an interesting test for Texas coming on Saturday night. I think they're going to get to see some things that will get them ready for some Big 12 stuff down the line. So we'll get into that. And as Ketch mentioned, we got buy or sell at 1, got crap bag at 2. At 2 o'clock, the team Texas does not want to be. We will dig into that a little bit. But Ketch, the recruiting angle of it, it's always fascinating to me because, like you just kind of alluded to, for years, there would be discussions when it was, checking in with you, talking to Jason Sukumel, talking to all the experts. You'd ask about big wins, games, losses. And Texas is really at times like that, hottest girl in school. She's going to get asked out even if she is a total bitch to everybody, even if she's mean, even if she doesn't even get dressed up, even if she takes 2 days, doesn't shower, but doesn't tell anybody, she'll still get asked out. But if she's nice and if she cares and if she takes time, then it just starts to really mount up. It really starts to stack up and everything. So for Texas, it's always good, but every time they get a win like that, I always think, oh Lord, what did the recruits think of that? So let's talk about some of these 24 guys and what you're hearing coming out of the game, because there's no way that Saturday night didn't matter to big time 24 guys. There's no way that's true.
I just like that Don McWilliams is in the Specs chat saying, Ketch, I'm just listening to Chad.
It's the listening phase. Look, most of this show is Ketch talking and me listening. But occasionally I will talk and Ketch will listen. It's not, you're right. It'll happen. It doesn't mean he's actually focusing in. That's focused listening.
You know what happened, Chad?
Huh? You
started talking about the bitchy high school girl. And the first person that came to mind was Taylor Vaughn from She's All That. Have you seen She's All That?
Wait, She's All That. Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
Taylor Vaughn, the bitchy homecoming queen who,
right.
Is constantly, I guess she was the prom queen when it was all said and done, but she dates Matthew Lillard early in the scene and he's danced. I don't know. I got you started talking and that made me instantly think of the Freddie Prinze Jr. Freddie.
You know what? I just realized I mixed it up. I thought you were referencing Can't Hardly Wait. I have not seen She's All That. I've seen Can't Hardly Wait. How
dare you?
I have not seen She's All That.
Oh, sorry, man. Talk about a classic 90s teenager romp fest fun. You got to see She's All That.
Got to add it to the list.
Okay. JD. What is happening here?
What a weird sound to be able to identify. You know that guy over there?
How do you know?
See that guy right there? No, hang on. Before we eat, look, see that guy right over there across the restaurant? Low T. You can tell.
He's talking like a guy with low T.
That guy right there's got low T. There's no doubt. Weird. They know you, Ketch. That's the thing. They know you so well. They feel like they're that in tune to you.
Did I not have low T yesterday? Like
inside,
when did this
inside
happen?
Now. They feel like they know you.
I feel like I haven't been diagnosed. Now I have something to worry about that has come up out of nowhere. Let's just reset. Let's talk about recruiting. Maybe if we talk recruiting, my low T will shoot back up to regular levels.
Yeah.
And
So I'll ask it this way, Ketch. Off of the Bama game, was there one name you thought of? Was there one recruit to get into this discussion that you thought of after the Bama game?
yes, in that I think they're going to get Brandon Baker, the offensive lineman out of Mater Day, who announces on September 24th. I've had a future cast for that guy in since early August. I've had a future cast in for Kobe Black, the defensive back out of Waco Conley, since February. I mean, I think they're going to get him.
And both for Texas. Your future cast, correct. Both for Texas, yeah.
I've had a future cast in from Ryan Wingo, the 5-star wide receiver from Missouri, for a little while now. More than anything, the win over Alabama kind of cemented that, holy crap, Texas already looked really good for those guys. I think that helped cement their positioning, if it was even needed. Because, again, I've had future casts in for all three of those guys to Texas. So clearly I've thought that Texas was already in really good shape with them. I think it's more, a win like that makes you think that the possibilities are potentially endless with guys that Texas previously wasn't doing good with. I think a lot of people on Saturday night wondered, hey, is that going to move the needle with Micah Hudson at all? Turns out probably not. That kid commits to Texas Tech. But it did make me think of a guy like Terry Bussey, who was at the game as a guest of Alabama and comes home, and now there's been some scuttlebutt and I think that kid's going to go to A&M. But there is scuttlebutt that maybe that opened up his eyes a little bit for the Longhorns, that maybe he'll come in for a visit that he wouldn't have otherwise come in for. It's those types of things that you look for, guys that maybe you were in third place, fourth place for, but a win like that changes the way some guys will look at you. I think about Kobe Black, the player out of Waco Conley. There's been a lot of talk that he hadn't committed to Texas yet because he was still wanting to hold out and make sure that he didn't commit to a Texas program that vomited on their shirt in the first big moment of the season, that Texas is talking about ascending to being one of the best programs in the country. But what happens if they don't? What happens if they did go 9-3 or 8-4 this year? Would it change the way that a guy like Kobe Black felt about committing his future to the Longhorns? A win like that on Saturday was just a little bit of an extra exclamation mark to the recruiting job they've already done. I think it felt like they locked up Kobe Black on Saturday. I think they were already going to get him. I don't even quite know. I mean, I guess it would be Texas A&M that would be the number 2 school there. But ultimately –
yeah, that's what I was going to ask real quick, because I know we had talked about A&M in that discussion. I guess there's a chance maybe the A&M, especially that A&M defensive performance. We're talking about a cornerback in Kobe Black. Or no, is that right or no? No, he's a wideout. My bad. So his position has looked all right at A&M, but there still is that question about, are they fully embracing what Petrino can do for them? So I wonder what he thought of that game.
Well, I thought that kid was going to Texas no matter what anyway. Okay. This just kind of, I think, cemented that. Here's where I think it makes the biggest impact. Number one, 2025 kids, this will have a huge impact on. And that might sound far down the road, but it's really not. I mean, 2025 kids really are almost as much of the focus now as 2024 guys. You look at a state top 100 list. As a matter of fact, while I'm doing that, just to paint the picture of exactly what I'm talking about, if you look at the Lone Star Recruiting top 100 list for 2024, and I type in the word undecided, you'll see that 92 of the top 100 players in the state have already committed.
Wow.
92 out of 100. Now,
dang. I think even I can do that math.
Of the 8 that remain, Kobe Black is number 4. Terry Bussey is number 8. Hunter Modden, who used to be a Texas commitment, is number 19. That's it out of the top 30 in the state. Talk about the best of the best are already committed. So, yes, the attention has started to focus a little bit, certainly in state, on 2025. this is a real rocket booster to those hopes. And Texas hasn't done a great job in state this year. If they get Kobe Black, they'll finish with 2 of the top 10 guys in the state, assuming that nobody flips. But, you start going a little bit deeper, only 3 of the top 20. That's a low number. You want that number to be over 10. If you're really recruiting the state of Texas at an elite of the elite level, it's definitely got to be doubled, maybe tripled. But, in the old days, Mac Brown would get 10 out of 20 of the top 10, and that was normalized. So much of this recruiting class this year is built on the strength of out-of-state recruiting. I think that helps with in-state recruiting next year, and I do think it helps potentially with some flips this year. I've heard that there have been recruits knocking down the doors of the Texas coach's office trying to get back in on this class. Do you have room? I'm still interested. I want to flip. And what the Texas coaches are having to do is be very careful with who they make commitments to in terms of telling, yes, there's room for you in this recruiting class, because they do want to save a few numbers for the transfer portal. And I think they're always going to aim high. They're always going to look at a guy like McKinley, who just committed to Texas A&M, and that's a guy that I think they'll have targeted. And when that kid's high school season is over in November or early December, I think he's a guy they're going to go after full tilt. I think they'd already felt good that they would eventually get in with that kid. The conversation, though, often turns into almost not about you as much as it is other people. So Texas is now got some real momentum. Who are they recruiting against, and what kind of momentum do they have? When you think about Texas A&M, the way they lost at Miami on Saturday, it doesn't destroy the recruiting for Texas A&M. Again, I still think, and I see, Chris, I see your question here in the super chat. By the way, thank you, from one ball brother to another. You look and sound great. Are you coming on to me, Chris?
Nice.
It's okay if you are. I just, let me know. I can flirt back.
He's just giving you confidence. Just confidence.
He's just trying to be, thought maybe he was crushing on me. That would have made me feel good. Now, is it pity he's giving me?
No, I think he's giving you the Stuart Smalley. You're good enough. You're smart enough. People like you.
That sounds like pity, whereas I was hoping for a second he was just flirting with me, at which point I'd give him my flirt look back in the camera. It would be like,
please don't do that. I don't know if that's going to help us. I don't know if that's going to help us out.
If I flirt into the camera, Blake will take you away. Is there a chance with Terry Bussey? I mean, yeah, there's a chance. I still think he's going to end up at A&M. I think Bussey is a guy that really likes the smaller environment, the perceived smaller environment in College Station versus maybe the big city hubbub of Austin, Texas. I don't know why hubbub was the only word that I could think of. Good.
We should have more hubbub.
Yes. So they say about big cities these days. Do they have hubbub?
Well, hubbub, some rowdy dow, some goings on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Terry Bussey's a guy that I think Texas has his attention. The question oftentimes is it too late? If a guy like Bussey, and I think if we look, if we look at the commitment that Texas Tech just picked up from Micah Hudson, if Texas is able to do this 6 months ago from a timing standpoint, with a guy like Hudson, it could be too little too late if he's already that far down the road. But if you've got a guy who's a bit uncertain, you got a guy who's leaving the door open because they're not quite sure that the school they're favoring is the school they want to go to, then I think you open the doors up for the possibilities there. If you look at guys in state, they're going to continue to try to recruit Justin Williams, a linebacker out of Conroe Oak Ridge who's committed to Georgia. You have to know that if they could chisel away at that commitment for the Dogs, that they would. I think Joseph Jonah Ajanye, who's also committed to Georgia, also at Conroe Oak Ridge, a defensive end. I think he's a guy that they would certainly keep an eye on. Corian Gibson, the cornerback out of Lancaster, who very recently committed to Clemson. I mean, the guys that you know that they would want are pretty obvious. Can you knock those doors down? I think it helps with out-of-state recruiting. There's a kid in the 2025 recruiting class, Chad, by the name of Ryan Williams, who's a teammate of the quarterback that Texas has committed from the state of Alabama, Mr. Lacey. Okay. That kid's almost on the verge of reclassifying for 2024 because he wants to enroll at Alabama early. But even he's mentioned this week, and he feels like an Alabama lock. But he's a guy that has come, and he was at the game on Saturday. And there are guys that went to that game as guests of Alabama that have walked away with a little bit more of an eye on Texas. I mentioned KJ Lacey. He's the only commitment the Longhorns have right now in the 2025 recruiting class. His teammate Ryan Williams, even though Lacey is one of the highest rated 4-star prospects in the 2025 class, he's number 14 overall on the Rivals 100 at the moment. Williams might be the number 1 overall prospect in his class. He says he's going to visit Texas. Does that mean you're going to get Ryan Williams over Alabama? Is he suddenly not going to go to Alabama and he is going to go to Texas? Not necessarily. But we've gone from it looks like he's a lock to go to Alabama to he's at least going to take a visit to Texas in the coming weeks and months. That's what you want. You want at-bats. You want an opportunity to get guys on campus to make a foundation pitch to them that sinks and lands. And I think the Longhorns are in a really good position. And I think maybe most important, Chad, is they're not going the other direction. Because when I've talked to my sources about Dominic McKinley, when I've talked to my sources about Ryan Wingo, when I've talked to my sources about Colin Simmons, one of the real talking points was, will Texas soar this season on the field? Or if they have a clunker and they go 8-4 or 9-3, and by the way, isn't it nice to at least be talking about Texas football again and the word clunker comes up and it's a season in 9-3 that's almost better than you've had in any year for the last 15 years. We're watching the standards rise literally in real time. But if Texas had lost to Alabama, say they lose to OU or they lose to Baylor or somewhere along the lines in the midway point of the season, they're 4-2, and then you lose at TCU and there's a third. You start doing those types of things. I think there was a real feeling that not all of the NIL money in the world would be able to protect Texas completely from a disappointing season. Now that they're doing the opposite of your fears start to take hold. It's not fear that you're worried about with either Colin Simmons or Kobe Black, the negative thing. Now you're only looking positive and you're wondering, who can we surround these players with? I think there are going to be some out-of-state guys that Texas tries to pinpoint beyond Brandon Baker and Ryan Wingo, guys that I think they're going to get. But I also think in the portal, Texas, when this season is over with, is likely to lose a lot to the NFL draft. Xavier Worthy's probably an NFL draft guy. A.D. Mitchell came to Texas from Georgia talking about potentially going pro after one season. Jatavion Sanders. What happens at the tight end position when Sanders is gone? Because there's no one quite like him, and it's very hard to find guys in recruiting that can do what he can do. I think you'll likely see Texas make a more advanced push from the portal side of things in late December into early January as they look to potentially fill voids the same way they did with A.D. Mitchell in this offseason. I think you may see them do the exact same thing again. And they'll want to cherry pick. They'll want to try to find a guy that doesn't just show up and become a starter. They'll want to find guys that can be difference makers. I think receiver, tight end, defensive line potentially. I've not been one of those guys that thinks Byron Murphy is an early enrollee worry. But if Byron Murphy plays like he did against Alabama for the next 10 games of the season, suddenly he's a guy that you got to start thinking about as a possible early enrollee guy into the NFL. We know that linebacker is a position. Jalen Ford, David Benda, both of your starters. Yes, you have Anthony Hill, but we're still learning what Anthony Hill is as a college player. Is he Micah Parsons, which means you want to use him as a weapon that you line up all over the field to create pressure for opposing teams? You're going to need more linebackers potentially that can fill those voids of older guys departing in the event younger guys aren't quite ready. So yeah, I think out-of-state guys, in-state flips, and portal numbers, saving spots in this recruiting class for guys that can come in next year and make a big impact. I think that's what Texas is looking for. But for the biggest targets remaining on their recruiting board, Saturday's win over Alabama not only helps, I think it helps lock up guys that were already leaning very heavily to Texas with. Now it feels like something dramatic has to happen to change that. And, creating something dramatic if you're in a recruiting battle with another school can be difficult to pull off. For instance, let's take a look at a Ryan Wingo. That's probably a Missouri-Texas battle. Texas just landed a huge salvo, Chad. It's like, come here and be a part of that. And right. Oh, by the way, you're going to make a bunch of money in NIL and otherwise. Now, if it's Missouri, what can Missouri do to match what Texas just did? It's much easier said than done to just say, oh, we'll go out and beat Alabama and catch the attention of the entire country. It might take something dramatic like that in order for Missouri to blow for blow stick with Texas. I think Texas already had the lead there, because if they didn't, I think that kid would have committed before September 1st to Missouri so that he could already start making NIL money with Missouri. We had talked about the longer that goes on where he's not committed, the better it looks for Texas. And now we're in mid-September. I think it looks really good for Texas. I don't know what they can do at this point to one-up Texas. So I think Texas is in a great position with all of the main primary guys still left on and those are mainly 3 5-star level guys. Baker, Wingo, Black. You add those 3 5-star level guys to what you've already done, and suddenly you've got a recruiting class that's very close to what you were doing a year ago.
A couple chats I want to get to here in a second. Thanks to 270 folks in the Specs chat right now. Real quick question, Ketch. You mentioned Colin Simmons. Just to check in, any word on whether he made that trip to Baton Rouge yet, or is he still holding that one? We had heard maybe he was going to go to the Grambling game.
There had been a lot of talk. I've seen no evidence that he went to the Grambling game. No pictures, no. Okay. As soon as Texas beat Alabama on Saturday night, he was already in his social media. He was on Instagram, his Instagram stories. He was already celebrating the Texas win. I don't think he went to that. I've seen no confirmation that he did.
So he went on the positive vibe for Texas after they beat Bama.
I mean, everybody did. Even a guy like Terry Bussey, who I think's going to A&M. If you go to his Instagram page since Saturday night, and again, he was a guest of Alabama at that game. Right. On his official visit, he's been posting lots of pro-Texas, lots of people saying, hey, Terry, how about going to Texas? Now, he's been putting that stuff on his social media. I think most of us think he's still going to go to A&M, and he's somewhat playing the game a little bit. But Texas has gone from the school that he wasn't even playing the game with to now he's seemingly flirting with the Longhorns on social media. I don't know that I think anything's going to completely amount to that, but it does give you an idea, a real sense of how it can make an impact. Even with the kids that are not going to land, it does make an impact. That Terry Bussey today feels different about Texas as a program and as a place where he could go than he did a week ago.
All right, so speaking of Bussey, we had a chat come in from Colby, and he wants to know, what position would Bussey play for Texas in your mind?
Well, he wants to play on the defensive side of the ball. Like primarily that's where he favors playing. And, you know, I think that there's been a lot of conversation about him playing on the offensive side of the ball.
So-
Most kids like to hear that.
Right. So right now in high school, what is he in high school? Is he
Everything?
Are we talking O-line, D-line, or are we talking like a receiver and
He's an athlete. So he's either
everything.
going to play wide receiver or he's going to be a cornerback at the next level.
Okay.
The sense is he wants to stay on defense, but that Texas has viewed him both ways, actually. There have been times when it looked like Texas was primarily recruiting him on the defensive side of the ball. But I think earlier in the year, there was some speculation that he might want to play on offense, which if you watch this kid's highlight video, Chad, you'd be open to the idea that he could play offense. I think, you know, if Texas wants to get him, you probably tell him whatever he wants to hear, which would be the defensive side of the ball, which if you're Texas, they've got, I think, a hole in recruiting on the offensive side of the ball at wide receiver in this class, not getting Micah Hudson, missing on a couple of other targets. Ryan Wingo would obviously fill the need of like a true game changer. The one thing is on the defensive side of the ball, Texas has done a really good job of recruiting in the secondary. You're getting ready to add Kobe Black, but that secondary class is really good. Like you think of a guy like Santonio Wilson, NFL bloodlines from the state of Arizona. They've got guys like him that I think are going to be really, really good college players that a guy like Terry Bussey might look at and go, there's a lot of guys to compete for playing time where if I go to Texas A&M, not only does it feel a little bit more like a smaller town, a smaller school, which is crazy because A&M has what, like 60,000 students? I mean, it's not Texas against Rice in the recruiting battle here. It's the two biggest programs.
Right.
Only North Texas can like jump in and talk about having, I think, probably as many undergraduates as these other schools. Two monster schools. You know, I think we're all waiting to see whether or not the Longhorns really, really start creating some headway, some space with Terry Bussey. But right now, I think they're just in the flirting stage. But if Texas can get that kid on campus, and oh, by the way, when we look ahead to Saturday night for a Wyoming game, the Longhorns look like they're putting together a pretty big monster visit list of in-state guys for this year, in-state guys for next year. They will have a number of five-star guys, including Kobe Black, including Colin Simmons, both expected to be on campus on Saturday.
Nice.
Weirdly, the Wyoming game turning into a big recruiting event. And, I mean, Chad, this isn't a complete segue, but it is a baby segue into kind of things that we'll be talking about throughout the rest of the show today. This Wyoming game, the point spread doesn't reflect it, but it's two 2-0 teams, both of whom have victories that they feel really good about. I mean, whatever Alabama is for Texas, Texas Tech probably was for Wyoming. To come back from 17 down to beat a Power 5 school, a ranked team. You know, I think Wyoming, the game is a sneaky, interesting game. I think Texas is going to hammer Wyoming, but Wyoming is no pushover. And one of the things we'll do later in the show, you'll get into some stats that will back that up. But maybe it's even a good thing that Texas this weekend has. Wyoming this year feels like the UTSA game from a year ago. Remember, UTSA followed the Alabama game, and it was like, man, if you're not careful, UTSA can be highly competitive. I think Wyoming is a different kind of team. They're a different ensemble act than UTSA was a year ago. There's no Frank Harris on that team, but they do all of the little things really right. And as we sit here 3 days away from that game, I'm weirdly excited to see this Texas team take the field again against a Wyoming team that I think will put up more than a scrappy battle. Like they will come in here ready for a fist fight. It should make Saturday night a competitive, fun affair and not one of those games where it's automatically 28-0 in the second quarter and you're kind of snoozing your way through the game. I think it'll be a little bit more competitive than that.
Yeah, I think Texas fans should definitely be paying attention to this game on multiple levels. We'll get into Wyoming a little bit. Thanks to almost 330 people in the Specs chat. Thanks to all of you for subscribing. Again, 17,000 subscribers as of today with Orangebloods Live. We appreciate that. Before we get into Bama, I do want to tell the folks, Ketch, about sinus and snoring specialists. Today was a maintenance day for me in terms of my teeth. I went to my periodontist today. Got the teeth.
You have low T too?
No, it was no teeth.
Oh, teeth. Okay.
I'm all about the maintenance stuff. Make sure you're going to the dentist. Make sure you go to the doctor. Get your yearly physicals and all that stuff. But with sinus and snoring specialists, here's the focus. This is about you. I want you to click that QR code because you know it's time. Because you know you might have sleep apnea. Because you're sleeping like crap. Because you're breathing like crap. And you know it. You can't do it for a wife, a girlfriend, a son. You have to do it for you. And I know that because it happened to me in 2017. My wife is going through it now. She has tried that CPAP thing, and for her, it hasn't worked real well. She didn't stay devoted to it. So she's going back to sinus and snoring specialists coming up here in a few days to talk about the other options. Because remember, there are a lot of options. Dr. Slaughter and the crew, they're looking for what's going to work for you, which will be different than my situation. So scan that QR code. Go check them out. 512-601-0303. If you just want to give them a call, if you want to get online, it's sinussnoringent.com. This is the place that helped me. It is the place that can help you with all that stuff. The allergy, the snoring, all those things. Don't let it get worse as time goes by. Let it get better. Hey, last night my wife says to me as she's going to bed, and I had to do some work, and eventually I had to go to bed, but I was laying down, we're talking, and she said, hey, get up or you'll fall asleep. She said, you fall asleep faster than anybody I have ever met in my life. Anybody ever. And I chalk a little bit of that up to sinus and snoring specialists because I'm breathing better and I'll just go right to sleep. So it's a good thing. Sinus and snoring.
It doesn't sound like a terrible thing.
Right. I'm one of those people. I'll be laying there next to her and we'll be talking about what's the deal in the next day and whatever. And all of a sudden she'll like reach out and like punch me. Hey, we're talking about where we're going to dinner tomorrow night and you fell asleep. Like that's me. I'll do that.
By the way, look at this. Not a super chat, but a question from the Specs chat from Ryan, who says, I'm seeing quite a few posts from Wyoming people saying they honestly believe they're going to come into Austin and beat us. Where are you, Ryan? I'm curious. Where are you seeing Wyoming football posts?
Yeah, that's interesting, Ryan. Where are you hanging out? Where there's a lot of Wyoming Cowboy fans. I mean,
if it's not Rivals, it's not another network. It's okay if you're getting it 24/7 or somewhere. I'm just curious, where did you see posts from Wyoming people who were bowing up and saying, might have beat Alabama.
Well,
I think beating us.
Hey, look, you got to have confidence in a fan base if you beat Texas Tech. I completely understand that. And as we start to get into Wyoming a little bit here, I think there is going to be, there's going to be a few things just to keep in mind. And what I would enjoy about this game, Ketch, if I'm a Texas fan, is that I think there should be games on your schedule. Like right now, Texas is allowed 3 non-conference games. We all understand that. One game to me should be badass. One game should be everybody and their dog knows you could lose it. Everybody knows you could win it. That's the Bama game to me. Then there should be a game like Rice where you're thinking, you know what? Even if you played pretty damn bad, clunky as hell, you're still probably beating that team. Now, Houston may not agree with that idea when it comes to Rice, but for Texas, I think that's what Rice is. But then there's this game, Ketch. It's the one where if you're not paying attention, ask Joey McGuire, you could lose the game. That's key. Ryan says in a couple hunting sites that I'm on, it's the only way to find. What? You got big game hunters from Wyoming telling you that that's all they do. They go out and shoot big game and then talk Wyoming football. That's all they do.
That sounds like a hell of a site to go on. I kind of want to go hang out on the hunting site where guys are like, what'd you use to shoot that deer? By the way, we're totally coming to Austin and kicking that ass this weekend.
Hey, man, I think there's, think about it. That's a pretty good life if you're a Wyoming fan where it's like, hey, what'd you do this week? Got 2 elks and a moose and we beat Tech. Pretty cool, huh?
That's a great weekend.
It is. That's a good weekend right there. But this is that game that just like with Texas Tech, if you don't pay attention, and you don't play a complete game, Wyoming can mess with you. Now, Tech, obviously, it was there. They're going all the way out to Laramie. They got up 17-0, and I'm sure – I didn't watch every instant of that game, but I'm sure Texas Tech just got a little overconfident. They let that human nature take over. They thought they could close the door, and it was done. Or an App State. Yes, thank you, Colby. Exactly.
There's got to be a dig once an hour.
Well, and again, to that reference, that's a team that came to College Station, and they punched the Aggies in the mouth, and the Aggies didn't have a punch back. They just didn't. They came in, they got physical, and interesting that Colby brought that up. I know he brought it up as a rip to me, but let's transition it to this Wyoming game. They're going to come in and try to get physical with Texas. They're going to try to come get nasty with Texas because this team runs the ball. That's what they do. So let's go to the Tech game. After they got down 17-0 in that ball game, they ended up running the ball 44 times. 44 times in a game they trailed 17-0. That's full commitment to the run game. Ketch, they had 34 minutes of time of possession. I know it's not always a big stat. I get that. But with the new clock rules, it might be something to peek in on. 34 minutes of time of possession feels important in a game like that, where they end up scraping it out in overtime. Texas probably doesn't need to let them get into that situation. In their Portland State game, they ran 39 times. So this is just a team that wants to get after it. Here's another way to say it, Ketch. Wyoming has 4 players with 12 or more carries already this season, and Texas has 2.
So they are constructed. Well, Texas got a top 15 national run defense right now.
Yep.
So
and after – right. I usually wait till about 4 weeks to look into that. But, yeah, that's a bit of an indicator. We know Bama wants to run the ball, and we know Rice did too on some level. But specifically the Bama game tells you a little bit.
I think if you're Texas, the hope would be you go ahead and try to run the ball.
Right.
And we're going to jump out 21-0 on you because they're not great defending the pass. Wyoming's a pretty good blood and guts physical football team.
Yep.
It does look like a bad matchup for them on paper. There would have been Texas teams prior to this year that I think if this Wyoming team comes to Austin and plays them, because Texas had some bad run defenses over the years. You know, you can close your eyes and see the teams that have showed up in Austin and run for 200 plus yards and really either made it really difficult or flat out outright won the ball game. Wyoming's going to be a good test for Texas, but boy, the things that Wyoming needs to beat Texas, I just don't know if they exist.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. What I wonder is just if a running game comes to town that is fully dedicated to what it wants to do and it calls really interesting run plays and really stays after it, I'm interested to see what Texas does in response, because I thought Bama was just super arrogantly vanilla. And they thought they could just go with McClellan and the quarterback and win. Speaking of quarterbacks, Peasley's an interesting quarterback to look at. Andrew Peasley is the quarterback for Wyoming. 6-year senior, Ketch. 6-year guy. Now, it's not all at Wyoming. He started at Utah State. He's an Oregon kid, and he's a dual threat type of guy. I mentioned they've got 4 guys with 12 or more carries. He's got 21 already. So the quarterback carries the ball some for Wyoming. He's tough as nails. And he made one of my
have to be this weekend.
Yeah, and he made one of my favorite plays so far this season, the next to last play against Tech, when he got cut damn near in half by a tackle as he's getting hit in the backfield and getting cut in half. He sees the hot route and he finds the guy for the touchdown. It was an incredible play. You can tell they love him. He's got records that, he got a lot of records that are first to do it since Josh Allen did it at Wyoming. So he's one of those guys that if you let him get a little bit of a rhythm one way or the other, that could be bad. But he's going to run a little. Wyoming wants to run a lot in this game.
Paul says, hold on, my mouse isn't working. Don't remind us of those run defenses too soon. Too soon.
Far too soon. And it's not, and see, here's the thing too, Ketch, where the human nature is going to take over, right? Here's the big differences. There's no possible. Everybody will, if Texas plays just like they did against Bama, they might be It can't happen. It's impossible. You can literally not play the same game twice in a row. You can't. DKR will not feel the same. Is it going to be packed? I don't know. Maybe. Are the fans going to be totally rabid? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. Could be a little bit of a flat atmosphere. And
I'm
then
actually expecting, and this is crazy, Chad, I'm expecting a really good response Saturday night from the crowd. I would have never said that previously.
It should be there, right?
It
because
should.
they
It's
beat
the
Bama.
game, this is the chance for Texas fans. First of all, it's at night. So it's not 2:30 in the afternoon like the Rice game.
And the weather's literally getting cooler right now. It is literally getting cooler as we're talking here.
Oh.
Seriously.
Trying to get me moist over here, Chad. You got me feeling warm and fuzzy.
There you go.
It's getting cooler.
It's getting cooler, and there's going to be a break in temperature literally Saturday night. During the game, the temperature is scheduled to be going down. Our man Blake reminds us, for OCD freaks like me, this is the debut of the night lights. This is the debut of the burn orange lights at night. It should be a great atmosphere, but here's my question for the Texas defense. After doing what they did, are they going to attack the Wyoming run game with an attitude of, hey, did you see what we did against Bama? Yeah, that was us. Or are they going to be trying to prove that it was real? How are they going to tackle? Do they want to tackle and tackle again and tackle again and tackle again? Because I just told you they ran 44 times in one game and 39 in the other. Does Texas want to tackle, or do they want Wyoming to give up? If it turns into one of those things versus the other, we could see one of those games where it's sluggish and you're like, come on, fellas, that's a 15-yard gain. Come on, fellas, that's a 28-yard touchdown run. Get it together, or are we going to see them be a badass tackling team right away?
Well, I think it brings up kind of a good question. What will you think of this Texas team if it's 21-14 at halftime? That 1 week after Alabama, they're weirdly in a tussle with Wyoming and not able to separate from them for a while, that it's a little clumsy. The team looks like it'd be very cliche, right? To win that game and then come back the next week and kind of not be ready to play. But what would it tell you, if they get into a little bit of a slop fest, that Wyoming's harder to put away than you would think they would be, because maybe they weren't completely focused on Wyoming.
Right.
But what would it also tell you if they do show up and just beat Wyoming like they saw something, and then 1 week after Alabama, we see a football team that's completely dialed in?
Yeah, it'd be huge. And it takes me back to the championship team in 2005. There were elements of it in 2004. The thing I liked about that 2005 team was the way they talked to the media was kind of like are we done yet? Y'all show up. You show up. Just look. Just see it. And there would be moments, Ketch, like mid-first quarter where I knew it was over. I mean, you knew it. I was like, I didn't know the final score, but I'm like, oh, there's no way. There's no way. So to your question of 21-14, is it 21-14 and I have not had a moment thinking Wyoming can win? Or is it 21-14 and it was actually 14-0 Wyoming and it's 21-14 by the half and it's been a little bit of a different feel? So it's going to need to be, how does it play out? And then we will look for this third quarter team that's shown up 2 weeks in a row. Can they really get that transition going? Because remember, we've watched teams that were Mac Brown teams where it wasn't about third quarters and fourth quarters. It was about, why can't they start well? Remember those groups?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It'd be like, wait a minute. They were playing a home game against what? And it's 10-0 the other way? How did this happen? So, but with this team, it may be maybe it's a little more of that than it is the third quarter stuff. But if they come out and really establish it, I'm looking for 3 or 10 for Wyoming. The statement for me from Texas would be, if it's a whole bunch, to 10, 3, or 0. Those are, if it gets to 17 or 13, I think there's a little something there. As long as it's 10 or less and they're scoring a bunch, I think it's the game they need. It's the game they need for the nation just not to pay attention to. Nation will be watching Georgia. Nation will watch Tennessee, Florida. The nation will just blink by that game and go, yep, Texas did what they needed to do. If it's like a 48-10, that's the neighborhood that I think would really make Texas fans happy. Dominate, leave no doubt, and do it from the beginning.
Ben says, do we give A.J. Milwee credit for talking to Quinn on the sidelines to lift his spirits, or was that just for the Rice game? Ben, that's the great thing about winning. When you win, you get to make anything you want into anything that you want.
Yeah. True.
When you win, you can say, A.J. Milwee down on the sideline, look at the great job that he did with Quinn Ewers. When you lose or you play like crap and that happens, and it's like A.J. Milwee's down on the sidelines. They're trying to get Quinn Ewers' head right, but they can't do it. And what's A.J. Milwee even doing on this team? It's the difference between, man, A.J. Milwee is a great coach. Look at what he's doing versus, man, A.J. Milwee can't coach. Look at what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like for our show, Ketch, it's the difference between why in the world would Ketch wear that shirt before Texas loses at Alabama, or, man, Ketch wore that shirt and all the energy seemed to get sucked up by the shirt from Bama and Texas won the game. Yeah.
We haven't – do I need to have the shirt dry cleaned and ready for Friday?
I would say no. I think you need to have the shirt ready for big games. With all due respect to Wyoming, I'm a Mojo guy, but not every week. I think.
What about against Baylor next week?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Before every road game, true road game this season,
definitely.
That mix of Bama and A&M, the bastard baby shirt is what we just need to call it.
Whatever the hell that color is, which we still haven't figured out exactly what color that is. It's like some color that some old couple in Arizona wants to paint their living room. That color. Whatever that is, that's what we need from you. But yeah, wait till Waco. Wait till they're headed to Waco.
Colby, we're going to get the shirt cleaned. I'll wear it all the time. I have no problem doing that. But it's going to get dry cleaned and just in case.
Two things, Ketch, I do not believe in the world of Mojo. I do not believe that not doing laundry has any effect on anything. And I do not believe in my team was doing fine when I went to the bathroom and stopped watching them. That's dumb too. Those people make no sense to me. My wife and father-in-law are those people with the Steelers. Steelers will be playing bad and they stop watching them. And then if they do well, they'll say, well, I'm going to keep not watching. I'm going to keep not watching. They've kicked 2 field goals while I'm not watching. It's like, okay.
I started eating a bag of Fritos at 3:37 and they got a couple of first downs and scored a touchdown. And now I just got to eat Fritos the entire game.
Oh, my God. Why do you have a barrel of Fritos? That's a long story. Trying to get it all figured out.
But the Steelers are on a winning streak because of me.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah, whatever the reason is, whatever those things are, let's just see if Texas can keep that momentum going. Because the thing, Ketch, sometimes you can bang your head against a tree so much that you forget about what happens to other people in the forest. Georgia gets clunky. Ohio State gets clunky. Michigan gets clunky. Bama gets clunky. They all do it. It's just that you criticize your team because you're watching every single play. But there are weeks where Bama goes to second quarters and it's 7-0. There are weeks where Georgia's headed to the half and it's like, did you see that game was 14-10? All I saw was 47-10 was the final. Exactly. You don't see every little detail of it sometimes. As long as they're fine on the back end, I think it's all right. But I'm interested. This is a test. It's a test game for me for Baylor and K-State specifically. Teams that are going to want to run at Texas, teams that are going to want to get physical. I would argue keep that time of possession in their favor as much as they can. Is Texas ready for that? Is Texas ready for that kind of game, that kind of mindset? Just nasty, physical. Of course, they were ready in Tuscaloosa, right? They were ready. They were fired up, pumped. But to ask all of them to have the exact same mindset for Wyoming and Baylor, it's not fair. You're not being fair to them if you say, come on, guys, you only get 12 opportunities. How do you not get up for blah, 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 blah? Come on. Stop it. When you're getting ready for the
The
date with
coaches
the
are
10,
saying that this week, though, Chad.
I understand
You
that.
only get 12 opportunities in the whole year. And
But the coaches will say it, but this week is different for them too. Sark got different interviews this week than last week. He'll get less. He's getting less requests this week than last week. His agent is talking about what you're talking about yesterday this week. Maybe they weren't talking about that last week. All the little things are different.
The
for the
parties
coaches
that the monkey participates in are different this week versus last week.
That's correct. Exactly. Do you really think the monkey is as focused as he was last week? No. The monkey is in like relaxed Wyoming mode today. Guaranteed. The monkey hasn't been doing the calisthenics. The monkey hasn't been doing extra pole work. It hasn't been happening.
I'm kind of disappointed that no monkey story emerged on Sunday or Monday or even yesterday, that they had such a good time celebrating that the monkey did something. The monkey climbed up something climbed up a tree and they had to call the fire department out to get the monkey down. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get some monkey chaos, because if there was ever a moment where monkey chaos would have been allowed, it would have been allowed on over the weekend. It's like, oh, the monkey got out and climbed up a street light and then had to bring the fire department out because the monkey had climbed inside the yellow light and people couldn't see when the light was turning yellow anymore because the monkey had got in there. Like, we need some monkey chaos.
I think what happened, I think the difference, Ketch, is when you go to Tuscaloosa and you get a big win like that, wild animal behavior just blends with everything else. Like, that's just what they do, right? You're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama at that point. Like, a wild monkey running around, swinging off of buildings. Like, nobody blinks at that.
I think you take the monkey with you to Tuscaloosa, by the way.
Oh, man. I wish the monkey had been at Saban's Monday presser.
That's old monkey stomping grounds, Alabama. Like, maybe that monkey's got a boo in Tuscaloosa that we saw some monkey business take place on Saturday night.
Oh, there you go. Well done. Well done.
I wasn't
too much monkey business, huh? Was that Chuck Berry back in the day?
Oh, I don't know. It was Geoff Ketchum today, though. Wednesday, 12:57. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? We'll take our first commercial break of the day. Don't you guys dare go anywhere. When we come back, I've got a buy or sell question for Chad that I think is going to make him long for his childhood, and it might have the same impact for the rest of you. Don't worry, Blake. I'm going to get the questions to you, I think, in time. That's what this break is for. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at a player that was the first commitment of the TCU class of 2020 and became the last signee of the Texas 2020 recruiting class, with a little stopover in Waco in between. That's right, Texas senior defensive back Jahdae Barron had one hell of a recruitment before eventually developing into one of the most important remaining players from a somewhat disastrous 2020 recruiting class. For those that might not remember, Barron finished as a mid-3-star prospect in the Rivals.com rankings, while finishing 79th in the state and 72nd in the country as a cornerback. Should note for the record that I had Barron ranked as a 4-star prospect in my rankings and the number 30 overall prospect in the state. When we look at his recruitment, things really started to heat up following a junior day visit in February of 2019 to TCU and Gary Patterson. After visiting on the junior day in February, Barron committed just a couple of weeks later, citing that Patterson's track record of developing players was a big reason for his decision. Yet a little more than a month later, Barron backed out of his commitment to Patterson, primarily because his offer list started to take off shortly after his commitment, with the likes of Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and Arizona jumping into the mix. Before his decommitment, he actually took an unofficial visit to the 40 acres, although the Longhorns didn't offer. Fast forward to June 22nd, and Barron announced his commitment to Baylor. From that moment on, all the way through the rest of signing day, Barron was solid as a rock to the Bears, even in the aftermath of the departure of Baylor head coach Matt Rule. Things changed for Barron in April as he asked for Baylor to release him from his national letter of intent. Quote, Thank you to the Baylor Nation for embracing me, he said on Twitter. Today, I requested an official release from my NLI to Baylor and will begin looking for a new school to pursue my athletic dreams and career goals. 8 days later, Barron committed to Tom Herman's Texas Longhorns. Flipping Barron was a huge win for defensive backs coach Jay Valai, who had only been in Austin for a few months when he landed Barron. Barron was the 20th and final signee to a 2020 recruiting class that finished 16th in the nation. While Bijan Robinson is famously remembered as the headliner of the class, Barron was one of the 3 lowest rated prospects in the entire group, according to Rivals.com. Of the 2 players ranked lower than Barron, one of them was none other than All-America linebacker Jalen Ford.
So as you're watching those rankings go by in that piece, it does remind me that Orangebloods.com is where you can go to see those rankings. Ketch, do we still have a deal for the people? Is there an offer on the board for the people right now that you can tell them about?
We've had hundreds sign up in the last week since the Alabama game. Come get in the fun. The water is warm. A 60-day free trial. That means you almost get the entire rest of the season for free. Use that promo code Texas Arrives. Get the hookup. Go to orangebloods.com. Check out the #1 community, the message board in America. There's not a better message board for college sports than on Orange Bloods. That's not hyperbole. That's the truth. No matter how good or bad we are as reporters, the message board is always #1. Oh, by the way, we do some reporting. We do some writing. We do some things. I think you'll like that as well. Less than 30 cents per day.
Wow.
Come on. Think about all the ways you piss away money. Piss some of it away. 30 cents a day with Orange Bloods. That's all I'm saying.
By the way,
piss a little bit away.
By the way, Ketch, in the early voting for Best Aggie on a Longhorn Insider site, how am I doing? Have you checked in on those votes yet? Do we know how I'm doing?
I had somebody, I didn't answer the question. Somebody wanted to know what you were doing on the show, just in general. They were like, he's okay. I kind of like him. As far as Aggies go, Chad Hastings is okay. That being said, why is he always on a show?
Man.
I don't know if anybody else answered that. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the endorsement I'm looking for early on. All right, fair enough.
I didn't know quite how to answer that. I mean, ultimately, I think I know, but maybe I don't know.
Got work to do. Hey, I guess I should try to prove myself here in buy or sell as we start the 1 o'clock hour. We do it every day about this time. You said you have a buy or sell to make me go back to my childhood. I got one for you to test your musical knowledge. So who goes first?
I'll go first today.
Hit it.
Buy or sell #1. Texas is favored by 35 on Saturday. Do I have that correct?
I checked yesterday. I thought it was like 26.5 or something. Let me double check for you.
What do we got, Blake? Let us know.
Let me double check. I got 29.
Okay. Well, then maybe this is a little too high, but you think they lead by 20 plus at halftime on Saturday night?
20 plus at the half. I'll sell. Go a little less than that. I think the human nature thing is going to take over. I think they'll have a little bit of that fall off. Nothing crazy, but I'll say it's not quite 20 plus at the half. I think it's like 10 to 14 somewhere there at the half.
I've got it 35-3 at halftime on Saturday night.
Oh man, I hope you're right. That'd be a fun one to watch.
I think they're just going to throw the ball over Wyoming, and there's not a lot the Cowboys are going to be able to do about it. Buy or sell #2. No Aggies watch along on Saturday, and you're just fine with that.
Buy for multiple reasons, but mainly they're playing ULM, and frankly, after last week, they don't deserve watch alongs. Certainly from us or really anybody. Play ball.
I mean, I kind of disagree, but that's okay.
No, you got to go play ball. You're playing a 3:00 in the afternoon game on SEC Network. You're playing ULM. Go handle your business. Figure some things out, and then maybe by the time you're hosting Bama, people will care again. But I get why we're not doing it. We should honestly, we weren't going to do the ULM game anyway, Ketch. You know that's true. Come on.
That sounds like a game where A&M could play too well in it. Who wants to do a watch along in an A&M game where they're up 42-7?
Yeah, that's true. I know your crowd does not want that.
No.
No.
Although the A&M watch-along performed pretty well on Saturday when it was all said and done. Buy or sell number 3. Tom Brady should come back and play for the Jets.
Man, it was fun that last run. Tom Brady should.
I mean, they think they've got a Super Bowl ready team, and they just needed the quarterback.
Yeah,
they got that guy, and now he's gone.
As a Bucs fan, this isn't a selfish Bucs fan comment. It's hopefully an informed Bucs fan comment. I'm going to sell based on what I saw in his last year. I really did think it was over. I mean, he wasn't horrible or anything, but the arm had lost some little details. I felt like he'd lost some fire. So I'm going to sell. I think he needs to be done.
I should. JD, you know what? Can you imagine an App State A&M watch along last year? Oh, yeah. That would not have been fair to Chad.
Whew, man, that'd have been rough. Oh. I mean, as long as y'all would have been okay with swearing, there would have been a lot of swearing. Lots of it.
Ooh, all right. Buy or sell number 4. Anthony Hill comparisons to Micah Parsons. You're okay with them?
At this point, I'm going to sell that. Micah Parsons ended up as a pretty damn special college player. Obviously, he turned into a really good, versatile NFL player. I don't think we've seen the versatility yet to make me go Parsons, so I'll sell. But I do love the attack version of Anthony Hill. We just need to see the rest of it develop.
All right, and finally, buy or sell number 5.
Yes.
The Bozo Show, then named Bozo Circus, premiered 62 years ago. Wow. On Chicago's WGN-TV. You used to dream of being on that show when you were a kid and playing the game with the ping pong balls and the buckets, where for every ping pong ball you could get into the bucket, you'd win a prize or a toy.
Bye, 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 bye. It was always on television in our house as we were getting ready for school. I can see Bozo, I can see Cookie, and as you were saying it, but I hadn't even read it yet. As you were saying it, I'm like, is he going for the buckets with the ping pong balls? And then I read it. Absolutely. It was one of the most entertaining shows for me as a kid. It's probably the bronze medal. I was a Sesame Street Mr. Rogers kid, from the early days. I'd put Bozo right up there, though, man. It's competitive. It's right up in there. It would have been in my top 5 at a certain age for a while. Good call.
By the way, this is awesome. I kind of want to get the breakdown.
Nice.
Yes!
That's awesome. Hey, you know what? The only clowns in my life that didn't creep me out were Bozo and Cookie. Ronald McDonald freaked me out. All the ones in the movies and everything freaked me out except those 2 clowns for some reason.
David, I want to know, you say you were on this show as a kid. Did you get to play the ping pong game?
Yes, please tell us. Tell us the story. How'd you do?
I used to practice in the event that I was ever on the show and could play the game. I would practice tossing the ping pong balls into like cups or whatever I could find as a kid. I really wanted to will that to happen.
I love it. I love that you were practicing to go to WGN and change the world. I love it. I love it. All right.
Here are my buy or sell questions.
Here we go, Ketch. Buy or sell. Number 1, better chance Texas goes 10-2 in the regular season than 12-0.
Ooh. Sell, I think.
Okay. All right.
The thing is, the longer we get into this season, and I realize it's only been 3 weeks, right? Yeah, the early week of games, 0 week, and then we've had the last 2 weeks. There not being an Oklahoma State game this year on the schedule, I think really helps Texas.
Yeah.
That's one of those annual games where it doesn't matter if it's at home. It doesn't matter if it's on the road. Sometimes it's better to be on the road in that game than playing at home. They don't get Central Florida. They don't get Cincinnati. It feels like the schedule is shaping up really nicely for them. It's really hard to pinpoint where you think the loss potentially will come. I mean, I'm pointing to TCU. I've had that game circled all year long.
Mm-hmm.
The question though is there a better chance that Texas would go 10-2 versus 12-0? I think they're really close, which is why I had like a 7-second moment of silence where I thought about if one is 23% and the other one is 25%. I'm going to sell that for now, though, and I'm going to point to a schedule of Big 12 teams after this game against Wyoming on Saturday that doesn't exactly instill a ton of fear.
Yeah. All right. We'll see how much respect that schedule has moving forward and how much Texas does with it. Buy or sell number 2, Ketch. If a ranked team slips this Saturday, it'll be Tennessee at Florida.
It's a bad slate of games. I'm going to sell. I'm going to say Kansas State at Missouri. That if a ranked team were to lose, that might be the game more than any other. Missouri's looking. I don't know, man. It really might be a weekend where no ranked teams lose. But if I have to pick, I can't pick Florida to beat anybody right now.
Yeah, no, it's a weird feel. We'll see what that looks like. It's in the swamp, so let's see what Florida looks like back at home. They look clunky, obviously, against Utah, but Utah makes people look clunky. So we'll see what they look like this week. Ketch, buy or sell number 3. After Monday night, the Cowboys have to win by 14 or more to impress you on Sunday.
So they need to win by 1. The NFL is not a game that I care about impressing. It's not college football at the end of the year. There's no beauty pageant attached to it. Wins count the same, whether you win by 1 or you win by 40. I just want to start 2-0. Yeah. Start 2-0. I don't know that when the schedule was released, I thought definitely 2-0. In fact, I was a little scared about the way the early part of the schedule shaped up. So no, no. I'm realistic.
Yep. I agree.
With my NFL teams, just win, baby. And if they win 21-20 on Sunday, I'll be okay. I'll be as impressed as I need to be. Because here's the scary part, Chad. What I need to happen is the Cowboys come back out and win 40-0 again this week. And then we start doing that thing that we do as Cowboy fans. Here it is.
Right.
Super Bowl. We start doing that thing.
Now, I will say, if they hook 2 40-0 in a row, that there will need to be some talk.
You gonna say the 2 words, SB?
I don't know if I'd say those 2 words, but there'll be a lot of words with exclamation points.
We'll start seeing Michael Irvin on TV, just wilding out, going to the Super Bowl, and it's like, can we just get to an NFC Championship game first? Like, let's take a step.
Yeah, I'm with you. I heard a dumbass conversation yesterday where someone's like, the only way I think the Jets can score on the Cowboys is a pick 6 or a kick return. I'm like, oh my God, the NFL. It's the NFL. All right, Ketch. Buy or sell number 4. Here we go. Today, a member of One Direction has a birthday. If we set the number at 1.5, you'll take the over on members of 1D you can name.
Under.
Oh, you got to sell it?
Yeah, I got to sell. I don't think I can name anybody on One Direction.
Not one of them. Okay, fair enough. It is Niall with a birthday today, in case you
would not have named him.
Yeah.
I know who One Direction is.
Okay.
And I can tell when I hear a couple of specific One Direction songs, right. I know it's One Direction.
Can you name me the most famous member of the band that's now become a big success as a solo artist? Can you even name him?
No.
Okay, fair enough. That'd be Harry Styles, by the way. All right.
Harry Styles was on One Direction?
There you go. Yes.
I could name that.
Okay, see, there you go. I knew you could get the 1. I was just trying to see if you could get the
I just didn't know that Harry Styles was even on One Direction.
Okay, there we go. All right, so buy or sell number 5, Ketch. Other than the boys, if I only let you watch one NFL game on Sunday, you'd pick Kansas City at Jacksonville.
So, I don't have any Jacksonville or Kansas City fantasy players.
Okay, fair enough. Who's a fantasy player you care about? I'll tell you which game to watch.
I'm going to be watching Baltimore and Cincinnati. I came away with both Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews in fantasy.
Okay.
Didn't get a chance to see them hook up at all in week 1 because Mark Andrews sat out. Of course he did. I'm not going to complain, though. I won my fantasy week 1 matchup with a lot of things. I beat Alex Dunlap. What up, Alex? Just so you know. No, I'm just kidding. Not you. Alex will tell you, no bragging. I humbly accept my wins in fantasy from the fantasy gods, knowing that if you get cocky, if you think, oh, here we go, the fantasy gods will rip your team apart. The guys will start tearing Achilles and things like that. And so I was a happy man this weekend, even though my team wasn't 100%.
There you go. That is buy or sell. We do it every day about 1 o'clock. I hope I earn my keep on that one. All right, Ketch. So as I see right now, our guest for this hour is ready to go. Do you know what you need to do? If you want guests that are into the details, guests that are going to be punctual, guests that are going to have it all covered, do you know who you get? You get TV people. You know why? Because TV people have to be ready. TV people have a lot to think about. TV people can't just stumble into a studio like 15 seconds before they go on, right? There's makeup.
There have been some TV people that can stumble into the studio 15 seconds beforehand.
Will you let me promote our next guest properly? Will you please let me do this? Because there's
makeup.
Great
ones can do it.
They got to make up. You got to get rigged up with microphones. There's lighting to consider. We got to get. We got to be dressed up. Right? We got to be dressed a certain way because we're not like us radio slobs and can look any old weird way and just wear random SFA shirts. They've got to be ready on every level. That's why Corey Mose is in early, ready to go today.
But I know in talking to Corey that one of his heroes in the industry all time is Dale Hansen.
Yes.
And Dale Hansen could stumble onto a set 15 seconds before he did a sportscast and hit a full-on grand slam, no questions asked.
That's true. And Corey can, I'm sure, as well. But most of the time, you got to be ready to go, man. You can't just walk in there and half-ass.
Corey knows.
Corey knows.
Whoa. Stumbling in. Can y'all hear me? What's good?
What's up, Corey? How are you? Corey Mose from KView. In case you don't know, check out your ABC affiliate in Austin, Texas.
Check
out all the great work.
Appreciate it.
Corey, we'll just start real simple. Texas and Alabama, now that it's been a few days, what's still lingering with you on a Wednesday from that performance?
I think one thing I'm still trying to figure out about this squad is the running game. You know, Jonathan Brooks, he showed flashes. He closed the game out. I did appreciate how they were able to run out the clock against Bama, but still just the grinded out 3 yards a carry. You know, CJ Baxter had a couple runs as well, but I just want to see a dominant run game at some point. Hopefully see it against Wyoming, assuming that they're going to be up early and now they're going to have to run the ball more later in the second half. So I just want to see a 100-yard game out of Jonathan Brooks or CJ Baxter.
Would you force feed that on Saturday, knowing that you can kind of do probably what you want to do to Wyoming to some degree? Their strength as a defense is actually stopping the run. So do you just throw it and it's 35-0 and then you work on the run game? Or do you know that you can throw it whenever you want to? And this.
No. Oh, yeah. I'll let that meter.
What's that?
What was your question? Sorry, we lost you for a second.
You froze a little bit during the question.
I froze. Okay. I was saying, is this a game where you just go out of your way to work on the run game, even if it means not taking advantage of the matchups that you probably have the best chance of taking advantage of?
I don't think so, because you never want to kind of put yourself in those situations where you have a chance to not take advantage of the things that you can take advantage of, because that's what gets yourself in trouble, right? Now, next thing you know, you're in a tough battle with Wyoming because you're trying to force feed Jonathan Brooks. That's the last thing you need to do, give them confidence. You saw what happened to Texas Tech. So I would say just go with the regular game plan. And if it's the flow of the game, then yes, you can continue to feed them. But if not, just win the ball game, especially after a game against Bama. I'm worried about the hangover effect. And so you want to go out there, beat this team that you should beat at night, which is also scary for me. Night games aren't great for UT traditionally. And so I just think you go out there, handle business. And if the flow of the game constitutes running the ball more, then run the ball more. But if not, just win the game.
Corey, let me get a little bit of the personal side here before I ask this question. In addition to covering Texas, are you also a Texas guy? Is this your team?
Yeah, so funny enough, I grew up watching Texas. Love Texas. Funny story. When I was younger, I'm not going to age myself, but during the '05 championship, watching the Vince Young days, I had a bedtime. And so my parents, yeah, I know. My parents sent me to bed in the fourth quarter, like so disrespectful. But little do they know, I had a radio in my room. And so I found the dial about where the game was getting called on, and then heard Vince Young running in, and I started screaming from upstairs. And my parents were like, "Weren't you asleep? Like, you're supposed to be asleep." I'm like, "My bad, but we won a natty." Like, what can we say? So awesome. Yeah, I've been following Texas since childhood. I wanted to go to Texas, but your boy didn't have the grades. You know what I'm saying? So I went to UT Arlington, in Austin.
So, you stayed in the system, right? Stayed in the system.
Exactly.
Okay, so knowing that, then this is absolutely your team, meaning that Quinn Ewers is your quarterback. Give me the reaction from whatever you thought going into the game to now. Like, are you at like full TO level where you're weeping and that's my quarterback? Like, what did number 3 do for you on Saturday night for just your confidence as a fan?
Okay, going into the game, I've been seeing the mock drafts and projections, and everyone had Quinn being a first-round QB. I didn't see that. I mean, I hadn't seen it. So I was trying to figure out where they're getting these projections from. We know he has the arm talent, but if you see his footwork, it's not great all the time. He uses his arm and depends on his arm a lot compared to using his feet. But then against Bama, we finally got to see him not only throw the deep ball. Congrats. Finally, we got it. But more on the sideline, hearing Holly Rowe talk about how Quinn is going up to the offensive line and telling them, like, "Hey, let's get this done." He's been the leader. And we've heard it all offseason about how Quinn has been more vocal this year. And we haven't seen it as a media at all while we're at practices and stuff like that. But to hear it in the game in a moment like that, when Bama takes the lead, Quinn is the guy that is spearheading the comeback narrative. I love to hear that. And so now that we have the deep ball, hopefully keep it going. And then hearing that Quinn is the vocal leader of this team, now I'm starting to see, okay, first round projections, starting to feel it. Now the Heisman stuff, I'm not sure I follow that so much because he just won game over Bama. I mean, they got him projected over Shedeur right now. I would have Shedeur with higher odds for the Heisman than Quinn, in my opinion. But I like to see him getting more notoriety on the national stage, though.
Chad, I just want you to know how good of a human being I am. I chose not to interrupt you asking a question because I really just wanted to stop and go, what's a radio and what's a dial? Right? Corey said that back then, and I totally just I kind of know the radio thing.
Oh, man.
What's a dial? I don't know what that is. He turned something out.
A little static in the background.
Corey, is there a guy on this team that you just felt best about for Saturday? That, one of the reasons why you're very personable when I watch you do your stuff. You seem to have good relationships. I think you're young enough that you can connect with a lot of the guys on this team. Is there a guy that you know that in watching the game on Saturday, you just felt good that they were able to have a moment like that they would have had on Saturday?
Yeah, that's a great question. First guy that comes to mind is Jade. Jade and I are pretty tight. And over the offseason, the players had a camp that they ran at Westlake, and a lot of kids came out. And so they would have talked to Jade out there. And that was after Bijan and Roshan got drafted and stuff like that. And so I asked him, like, "Hey, what was that like seeing your bros get drafted?" He's like, "It's really cool, but I want to be there one day." And, at the time before the season started, Jade's not getting a lot of draft projections or like notoriety on that level. And so hopefully this season, he's able to kind of raise his stock more and more. And so for Jade to get that pick in this type of environment and this stage of a game, and of course, he's an Austin kid as well. So that's dope too. And so knowing what his goals are for the next level and then him performing at that level on that high of a stage was so dope to see, because I know he's been working hard for that. And hopefully his stock continues to rise for the NFL draft.
It's interesting that you said that. I thought one of the things I said about Jade for really the last couple of years, he's been a very good player, but the game-changing interceptions, the plays that show up on Sports Center haven't exactly been his calling card. It's the last step that he has to take as a player. When before you can get the glow, you have to do something to get the glow. I thought that interception was the biggest play of his career thus far. Still a long way to go this year. There can be bigger plays, but as a guy that you watch closely, do you agree with me? Can you think of a play that's bigger than that interception against Alabama on Saturday?
If Texas would have won the game against TCU last year, that fumble return, but they didn't. So
instead, that's a mere footnote in history.
Yeah. But that was a crazy play, though. Like that changed that made it a one possession game, and I was like, oh, they got a shot to win it now. And so that would be the only play. Other than that, that Bama pick was the biggest in his career.
So, Corey, when I think of a football team and their fans, I always think of like the offense is the thing. You get swagger off the offense. You get a little attitude off of them. But I think the defense gives you trust. So you were just talking about Barron and what he did. One of my favorite things about the 05 team is that defense, that the belief they could give the fans that like, oh, my God, they can't score enough. There's no way. Like Vince could have a bad day today, and I think we still get it done. Talk to me about how much trust this defense put in you Saturday night. Like, do you believe they can go into any game, and if they bring that A game, that the other team, the other team's just not going to have enough?
Yeah, I think one thing this offseason, the biggest question, at least for my sake, was the pass rush. Like, we were asking all the guys the whole fall camp, like, who's going to be the pass rush guy? Barron Terrell came out and said he wants to have 10.5 sacks this year. Not really on track right now, but hopefully he can get that. That's his goal. And so he was supposed to be like the guy, apparently. That's what they were telling us. And of course, we heard about Anthony Hill. When we ask players, what does Ant Hill bring to the game? Everyone says the dude's a great pass rusher. He's probably the best linebacker that pass rushes for sure. And all the guys were saying that during fall camp. And so to see that was dope. But Ethan Burke, for him to be able to step up the way he has been very surprising. And honestly, it's a luxury because now Barron doesn't have all that weight. Tavondre doesn't have all that weight to rush the quarterback. You have a guy on that edge that can get there now. While you pair that with the Anthony Hill and blitz packages, this D-line has really gave me a lot of confidence about this defense because, as we know, if you can rush the passer in college, oh my goodness, you can cause a lot of trouble for college quarterbacks. And then with this secondary, as you saw Jaron Thompson take advantage, Jade took advantage. I still want to see what Catalan can do in pass coverage, see if he can. I know he's a heavy hitter, but like, can you cover? And then, of course, Ryan is locking down his side of the field, which has not been talked about very often. But for him to be shutting down a whole side the way he's been, I think it's been really cool to see. And so if you pair that secondary with the pass rush so far, this defense is nasty. And, of course, in the middle of all that, you got the preseason Defensive Player of the Year. So, yes, this defense does give me that confidence that it can stop a lot of different teams, especially high-powered offenses. But, we'll see. I mean, Jalen Milroe you knew what you had to do. You had to contain him and make him throw. So I'm interested to see when you have a quarterback like Caleb Williams, the teams that you're probably going to be facing in the college football playoff, assuming Texas makes it there, how can they contain a quarterback like that? That would be the question.
Mm-hmm. Talking to Corey Mose from KView. If you're in the chat right now and you just found yourself wondering, like Vivek B did here, who is Corey Mose? He's a reporter from KView. You need to recognize.
Man.
Watch some Channel 24.
Vivek is like, well, who's that handsome bastard they're talking to? I don't know who that guy is.
I just got a fresh cut too, you know what I'm saying?
There you go.
I thought you were looking a little April fresh there.
As you fit right in on this show. When it comes to hair close to skin, Ketch and I are right there with you. You're actually bringing some hair to the show today. We appreciate it.
Not freshly done. This is what it looks like when my mane grows for a week.
You shining.
I've got a buy or sell question for you. I was asked this earlier this week, and my answer, I think, wasn't a popular one. So you'll probably know what that would be once I give you the question. When we talk about Anthony Hill and Ethan Burke, if I say both of those guys get to 8 sacks this season, Burke's at 2.5 right now through 2 games. Hill had 2 on Saturday night. Do you think they both get to 8?
Buy or sell 8. I think I'll buy Hill getting to 8, not Burke. And the reason why I say that just because I haven't seen a defensive end be able to carry that weight for a long season, at least since I've been in Texas. But I do know that Anthony Hill's one job is going to be the rush the passer, and they're going to be in passing situations. They're going to depend on Ant Hill the whole season to do that. And so since he has that type of responsibility, and I feel like he has the talent and the speed as a true freshman, I'm a big Anthony Hill fan, if you can tell. I just think he's going to be nasty. And so you saw the speed against Alabama, and I just think those blitz packages are going to be more effective than just Burt coming off the edge with his own strength and his own moves. So I'll buy Anthony Hill, not Ethan Burt.
Corey, there have been moments since Sark took the job where Texas fans kind of do the almost eye roll with the all gas, no brakes thing. But Saturday felt like he might have embraced it for the first time, because when he comes out of it talking about his mindset going into that drive where they'd given up the lead and then they go bam, 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 aggressive. They were aggressive coming off of the goal line. Do you think Saturday is him locking into it? And do you think now the fans are buying into, you know what? That was all gas, no brakes. You go, Sark.
Yeah, you saw it in the play calling. I mean, I believe he took 11 deep shots throughout the game against Bama. I mean, that's ballsy,
Yeah.
and that's what Sark does. He loves to do, and he says that you have to defend every single level when you play Texas when it comes to the secondary. And so for him to challenge Saban like that, yeah, man, that was very ballsy and it worked out. But also, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying in the sense of fans, but also the recruits. I think Sark knew how many recruits were coming to that game. I'm sure he did, and I think he made a point to kind of show those recruits that are at Bama, like, hey, you need to come to Texas because we have something brewing here, and it is fun, it's electric, and it's growing. And so I think he did embrace it because he knew who was watching, not just his fans, but those kids that he wants to come to Texas in the next couple of years.
Corey, this is a question I've kind of been saving maybe towards the end. Do you believe now? And believe can mean a lot of different things. I don't want to complete this sentence, right? It's not, do you believe that they can win a Big 12 championship? Do you believe they can make it to the playoff? Do you believe they can make, like, you can interpret this however you want, but after Saturday night, are you believing in this team?
Yeah, from the get-go, I believe that this team was the best team in the Big 12 before the season even started. I mean, if you just look on paper, I know we say that a lot. I mean, over the last 5 years, we said this is the best team on paper in the conference, but it's not just they're the best team in the conference, but the conference also isn't that good to me. I think the other teams just aren't that talented. But then also, you have the returning talent. It's not that kids that we are hoping to see that shows up, but it's like we know what Quinn can bring in his growth. We know what another year of Xavier Worthy can do. Bringing over Adonai Mitchell, which to me was the biggest move. And I kind of previewed that before the season, saying I think he was going to be the breakout player on this team because you have JT Sanders, you have Xavier Worthy that the defense are going to have to double cover or have safety help over the top, which means Adonai is going to have one-on-one, which if you've seen him in Georgia, that's not a good equation for a defense. And so he's been able to take advantage. And so, yes, there's a lot of weapons on this team on offense. And then just like we spoke about, defense, every single level, there's a playmaker. And so when you have that type of complete team with the experience and with the non-experience of the true freshmen playing at the level they are, I want to shout out Malik Muhammad. I mean, he was on the field a lot against Bama, and that's a big task. But he was able to show out and do his thing. I mean, even the first game against Rice, he led the secondary in tackles. Like, you're having these young guys make a lot of plays that we didn't expect, and pairing that with the guys that we knew that were going to make plays, this team is complete. And if they just stay focused, they'll be solid. And so, yes, I do believe it. I do.
So, Corey, Ketch mentioned you have some relationships with these players and some connections in some cases. You got any inside info for us on this Mitchell name change thing? I thought A.D. Mitchell flowed pretty well, but now we're having to learn, is it Adonai? Is that how we say it? Adonai Mitchell. I'm going to try to get there. If he's going to play like that and catch big balls like that, we got to call him what he wants to be called. But like, do we have an inside story? Did like a grandmother, is this like a Roy Oswald where the grandmother spoke up and said, you're not telling him your name? Do you have any idea why the change?
Well, it was just basically, apparently what he told us was he didn't like how a lot of people can't pronounce it. Like a lot of his teammates really weren't good with pronouncing it, and especially when the broadcast happens, he kind of made a note about a lot of the commentators say AD Mitchell, AD Mitchell. And in one press conference, the first time we talked to him, actually, I believe Danny Davis, when the All-American Statesman, asked him, like, what do you prefer? And he says, to be honest, no one's asked me that, and I definitely prefer Adonai. He says, I just want to be called my name. That's my name. That's what my mom named me, and I just want to be called Adonai. And so he's like, I get it. If people struggle with saying it, but it's not that hard in his opinion. And so he just wants us to kind of try a little bit harder and pronounce his name instead of just trying to shorten it. So that's just personally him. He just wants to be called by the name that his mom named him.
Okay, that's fair enough. 5. I'll work on it.
The rare occurrence where Mama calls him Clay, other people don't call him Clay, as fate would have it. So we got to get on that. Mama calls him Clay. We got to call him Clay. Yeah. Hey, one non-UT football discussion, because I'm on Twitter. Yeah. I can't help it. My OCD. I'm
you still say Twitter, by the way? I'm sorry, but you still say Twitter. You don't say X.
Mama called it Twitter. Mama called it Twitter.
I still say Twitter.
I still say Twitter too.
Right. If you're talking X's, it makes me think of either porn or Vin Diesel. I can't. Yeah.
Or Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
If I hear X, I'm thinking you're talking about Xavier Worthy.
Right. Or Des Bryant or something like that. I can't get. I'm not there yet. I still say Twitter and sound old.
Just like I'm going to call him Adonai Mitchell because his mama calls him that. Twitter. No, it's going to be Twitter.
Yeah.
On Twitter today, I don't know if you guys have seen this, and if you're in the chat and you didn't see this, they had like Mexican hearings today about aliens. Did you see this?
No.
And they rolled out 2 caskets, which I don't know why. What they revealed what they believe are actual alien corpses.
Wow.
And showed them in these hearings today. So now there's a lot of controversy on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, as to whether or not the corpses were actual aliens or something else. Corey, I just want to know, as a good old Texas boy, do you believe in aliens, or are you instinctively not an alien believer?
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, there's just so much stuff that we haven't seen.
Go on, conspiracy guy.
To me, there has to be, right? Like, there's so much stuff. Now, I am a man of faith. Like, I believe in God and all that. But, like, there's still just so much that we haven't seen with our own eyes in the universe. And the black space of, look at that. That's crazy.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. No, bro. See, now you're freaking me out. Now I got goosebumps, bro. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so bro, there's just so much out there in space that we haven't went through or discovered. And so I just can't say definitely no, there's no aliens because we haven't searched the whole space. So, like, how the heck are we supposed to know? Like, yeah. So I think there's something out there for sure.
Put that back up there, Chad. I just want your reaction to this. The thing that kind of bothers me is it looks kind of like something that I thought an alien might look like.
That's fair.
Why can't the aliens just truly be gross looking? Like the Predator or something. You know what I mean? Something comes out and you're like, oh my God, they've got 19 eyeballs.
Yeah.
Why does it have to look like a little miniature human being?
Okay. So what are the odds that it looked exactly like what we think they look like?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a couple thoughts here. Number one, it looks like something I might buy on vacation in Cancun. Number two, if that is indeed an actual alien corpse, why can't you size it up to the coffin right? Why would you have to use a giant coffin? If it's that small, give me a proportional coffin. Like, unless the Undertaker is nearby and there's a casket match that you're waiting to start, what are we doing? Why waste casket space? I don't understand.
So they can move around. Maybe they wake up. Maybe they wake up and then he's like,
well, now you're getting extra creepy. Yeah. Now we're getting alien corpses that can wake up and roll around. I mean, that's not good.
And they made that corpse very comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like
tucked it in.
There's not a hotel room in America where the bed looks as comfortable as the alleged alien in that gigantic coffin.
Oh, coffin by Marriott.
There are people in Mexico right now who are like, how come when I get buried in however many years, I'm not going to be as comfortable as the alien is?
Exactly. You know, grandma died. We did not bury her in that. No.
Yeah.
Nope. We went with that particle board bottom, and we just put some bubble wrap underneath her. That's all we did.
Got the luxury package, man. That's crazy.
You bury something in that, and that thing's coming up with bed bugs, and then you bring that into the congressional hearing, and then everybody gets the bed bugs crawling on them, and now you have an infestation of bed bugs all over Mexico because they're burying the aliens with like very comfortable bedding. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Oh, Corey Mose, KView. Hey, what are you working on this week? What can the people who are watching KView Sports? Yeah. I just saw Jeff Jones with Alex Okafor on set, and I was like, it's too bad that Corey didn't have Alex on, because then we could promote the Alex Okafor breakdown of the Alabama game. Tell the good people what Corey's working on this week.
Yeah, so this week we have a Thursday night stream. Tomorrow, high school football. Friday, we have a Friday football show as well. We work in Texas, of course, on Saturday. I anchor Sunday. And hopefully we have some of those cooking here with Orangebloods. So just a lot of things that I'm excited about. And man, Thursday night stream though, Jeff Jones and I will be commentating play-by-play color for a high school football game, Crockett versus McCollum. Yeah, super excited. I'm gonna be on the set, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be doing a little play-by-play, something crazy. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. So tune into that on YouTube and KV Plus. We had like a whole conversation with the head coach of Crockett and just trying to get some information, some cool storylines. It's a lot of work that goes into play-by-play that I'm realizing. And it's not just you can just go on air and commentate. Like you got to do a lot of research because you got to fill time. And so that's been really cool to kind of get a new tool and a new tool in my bag, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
See, Chad, Corey clearly does not know that back in the day, McCallum Knights right here, that I don't want to say that I'm the greatest living ex-McCallum Knight football player.
No, you would never say that. You would think,
but I'm at least in the top 200.
Wow,
that's fair. I'd say that's fair. Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that I'm the best.
You're not that guy, but you're one of the guys.
I'm a former captain of a 3-6-1 football team.
Talk your stuff.
And to be fair, we only became 3-6-1 after we started 3-1-1. It didn't. At the end of the season, I'll tell you what, we beat the shit out of Crockett that year.
Yeah. There you go. There it is. And hey, Corey, you know what they say about captains of 3-6-1 football teams? If they don't talk about themselves, nobody else will.
Yes, it's so true.
Put the C on my chest. Hey, let me ask y'all something real quick about the captain and stuff like that. When it comes to Coach Prime and doing like the D for dog and L for leader, how y'all feel about that?
I kind of
okay with it.
Yeah, okay. I like it. I like that there's a different, it almost puts levels out there. It's like the two different kind of captains in hockey where you're doing different things. And yeah, it's like, hey, you're one of my leaders. You're a captain. That's a different level. But hey, if you're a badass, I want to put something on your jersey to let everybody else know that's a badass. You follow that dude. Yeah, I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. And you can tell they care about it. And in the end, that's all that matters.
They're bought in.
It gives you an incentive because if you name captains before the season starts, that's just, those are the captains.
Yeah.
But the way Prime seems to have set this up, it gives all 85 guys in that locker room something to strive for. So if you're not a D or an L, you can be by the end of the year. It's a little carrot. Dang. And I would not want to be on a team where I didn't have a D on my jersey if we were going to identify dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What that make me then? If I'm not a dog, then what I pup? Like, I don't understand.
Something without a letter. And so, yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. I like it.
That's it. That's great.
All right, Corey. Hopefully we have some news that we can announce in a few days. Until then, fingers crossed that things keep going together. Go handle your business tomorrow night with a little McCallum Knights, Crockett Cougars action.
I'm anchoring tonight on KV, so everyone is like, who's Corey Mose? Watch KV tonight. You'll find out.
There you go.
Corey
Come
Mose
on.
Yeah.
Tonight, Channel 24 in Austin. And the thing is, it's 2023, so you can stream it no matter where you are. We'll teach you in time. If you don't get it down tonight, trust me, you're going to know who Corey is in the coming days, weeks, and months. Corey Mose, KView Sports. Corey, have a great – this is his day off, Chad. He's doing this for – wait, no, it's Wednesday. Yesterday was your day off.
Saw Drake yesterday.
How was that?
Ooh, nice.
Oh, man. It was sensational.
Are you a Drake guy, or did you just go see Drake?
Well, a friend gave me tickets, so I had to accept them. And
so you went to see Drake, but you're not repping Drake. Who is your favorite rap game performer in 2023? Current guys, not old school.
Yeah. I mean, I would have to say Drake when it comes to rap. I'm more of an R&B guy, so I don't listen to rap like that. I'm sorry.
So you and Jordan Whittington get along because Jordan loves old school R&B.
Okay, yeah. So I love old school R&B. I love new school R&B. I just love R&B in general. I'm a sweet talker. You know what I'm saying? So I like the sweet talking music. You know, and so that's what I vibe with usually. So when it comes to rap, though.
Hey, real quick, Corey also posted a video from that concert with a special guest. You want to tell him who it was?
Yeah, Johnny Manziel was in that mug last night, man. He was up there. Yeah, it was crazy. Like, is that Johnny? He was in the DJ booth. Like, that Johnny football.
Well, he and Drake are boys.
Yeah, had a whole song with name dropped him and everything. So yeah, so Johnny football was there last night. KD was there as well last night. So star-studded, I guess, supporting cast, you can say. But yeah, it was a real cool show. And then I'm actually going to go see him again in Houston, just because I originally bought tickets in Houston, but then my friend gave me the tickets in Austin. So I just bet I'll just go twice. I'll see him twice. So.
All right. Well, then, Corey, just a quick one from me, because since you just set this up, if you are an R&B guy and it is time for some mood music, romantic mood music, what's your go-to?
Oh, man.
We asked Al Green this question once upon a time.
Wow.
If you had somebody coming over tonight and you wanted to set the mood perfectly, what do you do?
A little The Weeknd. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Little Trey songs too. Like girls like Trey, the old Trey songs.
The old Trey songs.
Obviously. Yeah, don't go messing with the new Trace. That'd be silly.
Old Trey songs. For sure. And I like Usher too. Usher got some bangers back in the day that, some of the girls like to
Usher back in the day. I've never felt older than having Corey on today and describing Usher as like old back in the day.
I see JD put Robert Kelly. Hey, chill out, bro. You can't. He's done.
Corey,
he's done.
Go talk to Jordan about what he listens to R&B wise. Jordan Whittington will tell me. He told me once in an interview that he puts on Teddy Pendergrass whenever, and it's like, what are you, 70?
He has an old soul. Like, he's one of those old soul guys, which I vibe with. Like, and he owns it too. He's like, yeah, I just listen to old school music.
He owns it because he listened to some Teddy P's.
Yeah.
He's putting on Turn Out the Lights, which there's nothing subtle at all about what's going on
in
Teddy Pendergrass music.
Yeah, you know what the message is.
Yeah. Hey, Ketch, realize you didn't. I know you feel old, but you could have asked him for his favorite old school rapper, and he said Kendrick Lamar. It could have been that bad.
Hey, Corey, we interviewed Al Green a little more than a decade ago when Chad and I were doing a show on radio. We asked him that same question. The question was, if a woman came over and wanted some mood music, do you play your own music or do you put on some Marvin Gaye? And Al was like, I put on whatever she wants to hear.
Yeah, smart answer. Hey, you know what they say on Family Feud? Good answer.
That's it. What does she want to hear?
If she wants to hear Let's Stay Together, by all means, she's going to get some Let's Stay Together.
Yeah, fact.
Yeah.
All right, Corey, get on out of here. Get to work. Do your thing, my man. We'll be watching tonight.
Sounds good. Thank y'all, man. Much love.
Thanks,
Corey. Man. Corey Mose from KView joining us here on House Divided. I enjoyed that, Chad. I did not enjoy him making new music to us sound like old music to him.
That was funny. Yeah, that was really good. But that's what you want to know, R&B guy. Let's find out. Do you go old school, new school, mix it up?
Trying to get the R. Kelly. Oh, there it is. Of course, JD is winning the chat today. In addition to insulting me with my alleged low T scores, alleged. He's hitting us with the Robert Kelly.
Robert Kelly.
Apparently, there. Well, what is JD into? This is getting sketch. Hey, I don't know what's happening now. Chris in the Specs super chat says, "How much does so?" Chris, can we get back to some football? How much does transfer player knowledge of offense, defense play a role in new matchups? Nayor should know something, right? Probably a little bit. I mean, I'm sure they're asking. I'm sure he can help a little bit this week, but that stuff changes from year to year. It's now been a few seasons since he's been in that offense, and they don't have any of the same dudes. Like the Wyoming offense this year is not the Wyoming. They ran the heck out of the ball while he was there, Chad. And he was kind of like.
And if I'm seeing the resumes right, I don't believe he and this quarterback would have played together. The quarterback went 4 years. I think it was 4 years Utah State and now 2 with Wyoming. I think that's right. So I don't think he and the quarterback would have crossed.
Yeah, so there's only so much information that he's going to be able to have. They literally have analysts on duty to do nothing but break this stuff down and give the coaches, tendency reports and all of the advanced scouting. It's crazy how much information they can get now. If Chad and I can pull up Quinn Ewers' passing, what areas of the field he likes to pass the ball to.
Yes.
Trust that the analytical reports they receive are a little more sophisticated than that.
Yeah. Thank you for the chat, Chris. The super chat on the Specs chat line. Shout out to Specs and everything that they do. We want to hit them with a little 15. Can we hit them with a little 15 of a Ketch 2 live crew? LOL, says Paxton.
I saw 2 live crew in concert. I feel like he's setting me up. I saw 2 live crew in concert when I was 13 years old at the old Austin City Coliseum. You want to talk about a show that scared the hell out of me? Me and 3 other 13-year-olds from Grisham Middle School rolled into the Austin City Coliseum to see the show that night.
Nice.
And we just saw things that we had never seen before. Just people openly doing drugs in front of us. We were sitting in the back, and one of the opening acts, she actually has a Wikipedia page, so you could look her up. There was a performer named Candy Fresh. She was one of the opening acts she opened up for the Ghetto Boys and 2 Live Crew. That was the show that night.
Damn.
And she came and sat down next to us and told us, "You 3 are the only 3 people in this entire arena I feel safe sitting next to." We were like, "Thank you, Candy Fresh. Can you be our chaperones? Because we're a little fearful as well." I had somebody after the show that night ask me, they sold out of T-shirts. It was the T-shirts with the half-naked women with their butts, and the guys are underneath, and all those shirts. The guy came up to me.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, man, can I buy your T-shirt off of you?" And we were all like, "No." He said, "Well, I'll give you a bag of weed for it." And we all said no. My mom picked us up 5 minutes later, and she was like, "Who is that guy?" And we were like, "Oh, that was a guy that was trying to buy one of our T-shirts. He offered us a bag of weed for the T-shirt, and we turned him down." And my mom was like, "What did you do that for?" What are you doing? Turning down bags of weed for a T-shirt. Sorry, Mom. Didn't realize it meant that much to you.
Man, diming out your mom on a bag of weed.
My mom, pretty vocally active in reporting the weed, even when her 13-year-olds were turning it down.
That's funny.
Offered for their $20 2 Live Crew T-shirts.
That is the best. That is the best. All right, where were we? Do we go Specs? Maybe a little early for a Specs 15.
It's never too early for a Specs 15.
Never too early for a Specs 15. Get stocked up for the games this weekend. Hit them with a little 15-second Specs there, Blake.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
You know another reason I think I like her? It feels like she's the combo of 2 of my favorite people that I grew up with in Waxahachie. There's these 2 girls I think of. that I've known forever. We've known him since we were like 5 years old. She feels like a combo of those two. That's why I like her so much. It just hit me as I looked at her.
By the way, Steve, if you're still in the chat, we don't care. Like, believe me, if there's one thing that is going to not motivate us, it's not the threats of you going someplace else and watching a video. We're glad to have you. We hope we entertain you. We hope we get enough sports talk in. Don't be an asshole, though. Like, don't go into the chat. I'm going to go back to some other show. Just fucking do it. Like, just do it. Don't be the kind of person that chats, I'm going to go do this. Do you know how jerky that makes you look? You're the guy who goes into chats of other shows and tells them, I'm going to go back. Just do it. Just do it.
That's a threat a lot of people like to use in radio through the years too. They would hit you on a chat line, a text line. They'd call in, guys, I think I'm going to, all right, whatever. Do whatever you're going to do.
Just do it. Like,
do whatever you're going to do. Check back in if you like. Don't if you don't want to. Why? We don't want you watching
somebody
something.
Went to Drake's show last night and held up a sign that says, I'm going to go see K-Dot this weekend. No, nobody's doing that.
We hope you find something. We hope you find something you enjoy, and we're sure you will come back around and give us a shot.
Your self-esteem has to be so low to be like, I'm going to let these people in the chat know where I'm going. Dude, don't tell us how small you are. Just be small and go.
As you're leaving the restaurant in a huff, do you usually tell people where you're headed?
I'm going to McDonald's next time. Let me just do it.
I've never liked Denny's, and I'm going to IHOP. Okay, just go to IHOP. What are you doing?
And nobody in the Denny's has ever heard someone do that and then thought to themselves, you know what? We should get up and go with him.
We really should.
Denny's does sound good.
Oh my God.
No, it's like, man, let us finish our food and shut the hell up and don't be that guy in the chat. Okay, I'm sorry. Chad, like, I can't let that go. That is my pet peeve.
I know. There's a little, I understand.
I'm sorry, guy that I've never seen donate into the super chat or participate in the chat before. I'm sorry. Okay.
We do want to thank
keeping that guy now.
We do want to thank 373 and counting that are in the Specs chat, including Steve once he's back, because he'll be back.
Thanks to all of the other 370-something plus people who didn't decide to hold the chat ransom with threats. Okay.
There you go. There it is. Thanks to Specs for being a great partner, and definitely get stocked up. SpecsOnline.com. I've got the Specs app now on my phone. You can just order stuff up, have it delivered, ready to go for the game. And don't forget, wine, spirits, and finer foods. That is what you're looking for at Specs. Petty Ketch is the best catch.
You know what I call that, Chad?
St. Charles. Yeah, I was going to say. That was about the mood you appeared to be in right before we started the show. The kind of mood that if somebody messed with you on the chat line, you were going to get after them. That's
the type of dude that will go to another show's chat now and be like, I'm back, guys. I went somewhere else, and they were mean to me. So here I am. I'm back, in case you were wondering.
Oh, my God.
Man, we weren't wondering.
Chat politics. 2:00 hour is coming up. For those of you that missed a little recruiting discussion earlier, we're going to dig into recruiting heavy at around 2:20 with Jason Sukamel of Orangebloods. Ketch and Sukamel going to go back and forth on a couple of recruiting guys. I'll throw in a question or two if I can fit it in. But just talking about some of the big names in 24, what's happening next, who's going to be committing next, and just how much the Bama win gets momentum for Texas in recruiting, because you can't assume that it would be a bad thing. Also,
hey, you guys are going to have Adam Dunn tonight on the Outsiders?
That is true.
Are you going to ask Adam Dunn for me the question that I want asked of Adam Dunn?
If you would like. Tell me what it is. I'll jot it down right now.
Ask Adam Dunn if it's true that Major Applewhite used to bake Greg Davis cookies and that it used to piss Adam Dunn off.
Okay.
I had someone tell me a story once.
Okay.
Major used to bake cookies for Greg Davis all the time.
And it pissed Adam off.
I was told that once there was a story that Major baked cookies for Greg Davis, and that after Adam Dunn saw Major present Greg Davis with the cookies, that he had to exit the football building so that he could go scream.
Wow. Oh, I'll definitely ask.
I just want to know if that's a true story. I've been
me.
carrying it around for 20 plus years.
It's me. I'll ask. And if the answer is good enough, we'll just play it on the show tomorrow in the crap bag. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Tonight at 9 is The Outsiders, and it's a What You Drinking Wednesday, and it has been a great set of interviews we've had, and Chance Mock reached out to Adam Dunn, and apparently Adam Dunn is ready to roll for tonight at about 9:15. I'm also told, recruiting-wise, there may be a big-time 5-star or 2, or who knows, a group that are coming to town for Texas and Wyoming. We'll get that all laid out from Ketch and Sukamel coming up at 2:20. Rex St. Charles says that can't possibly be true. Well, we're going to find out.
I heard about it 20 plus years ago. I heard about it in real time.
From what I understand, I do not know Adam Dunn. I've never spoken to Adam Dunn. From what I am being told, he will be perfectly honest with the answer. He's not going to hold much back.
Once that Adam hung Major Applewhite outside of a window.
No, you didn't.
I did hear that.
What?
I didn't say it was true. I don't know it to be true.
Come on.
I'm just telling you, there are some legendary Adam Dunn stories.
You don't want me to ask him that, do you?
Well, no. I told you the question I wanted you to ask.
Okay, fair enough. We'll ask about
somebody in the chat wants to ask whether he ever hung Major Applewhite out of a window. I'm okay with that too, though.
Oh my God. All right. It's going to be, it will be fun tonight at 9:00 for The Outsiders. 9:15 is when Adam Dunn is scheduled to join us. We've gone over the top of the hour, Ketch. 3:56 is what I see in the Specs chat right now. Do you want to get into the crap bag now? Well, we got a super chat.
I just want to say what's up to Brian.
What's up, Brian?
I'm not quite sure what he's referring to. He just says paying for the content. Thanks for what you guys do. Well, thank you for Brian. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for being a decent dude in the chat.
We appreciate that. Appreciate that. Thank you for that,
hey,
Alexander Hamilton.
Pete knows. He's from New Caney. The boys are crazy from there. All I'm saying is there was it's legend. Adam Dunn is a bit of an internet legend before internet legends existed.
Okay.
Because I still have heard Adam Dunn stories that are just locked, and I cannot remember what I had for dinner last night. But I can remember that once upon a time, a mutual friend of Adam Dunn and myself told me that he hung Major Applewhite outside of a window.
That's crazy. That's like Suge Knight style.
Yes.
Right? Was it Eazy-E? Is that the story?
Who was it that shook? I think it might have been Easy that he hung outside of a window.
Easy got hung out of window. And there's also, isn't there a story about, was it Vanilla Ice?
Yes.
Didn't Vanilla Ice get hung out a window one time?
Adam Dunn was Suge Knight before Suge Knight was Suge Knight.
Oh, my God. That is tonight on The Outsiders. That is going to be a lot of fun.
Michael says that he can text Major and ask him. Michael, I'm okay with that.
Sure. Little advanced question.
Advanced question. Feel free. Ask me. Look, I'm not saying it happened. I'm telling you that I heard it happen 20-something years ago.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to jump in and throw those questions in, who knows what Adam Dunn's going to answer tonight. Somebody says, noted, 9:15 you say. Yes, JD, 9:15 tonight for Adam Dunn.
Now we can go into the crap bag.
Now we can do it. Okay. Little crap bag in this 2:00 hour. Ketch, I thought I would take a look at last week we talked about the teams that went to Tuscaloosa and got a win. Now that Texas has pulled this off, I started thinking about the last 3 teams. Remember, we talked about since 2012, only 3 teams had won the game in Tuscaloosa. They all had led the entire game. Texas broke that little bit of part of the curse and everything. And so we had you had a little bit of that, that the vibe coming out of it. And so the 3 teams that pulled it off. It really does have like a dog quality to it. You look like a basset hound when you do that. You look like a dog that wants a treat exactly when you do that. So we'll get into, I think, just a reminder for Texas about the team that they don't want to be here. Before we do that, though, Ketch, why don't you tell them about Mojo Insurance? Because I forgot to mention it earlier. You should probably mention it now.
Oh, fair enough, guys. If you want to shave it, you can shave off of your insurance as well, not just save and shave. Go to mojoinsurance.agency. They shop with over 50 A-rated carriers. The bottom line is they want to help you save money with your insurance. I don't know why you wouldn't give them a chance. I know that I've already done that. They're saving me insurance money. They've saved Jason Sukamel money on his insurance. Let them help you save some cash. I mentioned yesterday, my wife spent $65 on Grubhub ordering Chick-fil-A the other night. We got to save some money where we can. And Mojo Insurance saving me money, helping me out, being a good old friend in ways that apparently I need because my wife's crazy spending. So if you have a crazy wife spender, go to Mojo Insurance, fill out the Orangebloods form on the website, let them find out, no skin off your back. Can you save money or not? And if you can, then you will. You would, I would hope. If not, no skin off your back. Let them find out for you, though, one way or the other. Mojoinsurance.agency. Simple as that.
All right. So as we look at Texas and moving forward here, the team that won in Tuscaloosa that's got my attention this week is Ole Miss. The LSU comparison's not there. That was in November. They went on to win the national title. We know that. The A&M comparison doesn't make sense. They won in November. They didn't have many games left. But Ketch, Ole Miss won in September and became the number 3 team in the country after doing it. So I think the comparison is there. By the way, their quarterback was Chad Kelly, if everybody remembers that name from back in the day. Good player. Chad Kelly threw for 341 yards against Bama, 3 touchdowns, no picks, kind of comparable numbers to what Quinn Ewers just pulled off. If y'all want to throw some names, guys like Cody Core were on that team, 123 yards receiving. Laquan Treadwell, remember that name? He was on the Ole Miss team. And Evan Ingram was on that team, even though he only had 1 catch against Bama. So they look great. They go to Tuscaloosa, and they won, and they hung 43. Ketch, 2 weeks later, on October 3rd, they got beat 38-10. 38-10 at the Swamp. Will Greer and Florida beat them.
Wait, who?
Will Greer. Yes, and Florida beat them. Ole Miss turned the ball over 4 times, including 3 lost fumbles in the game. So they got sloppy real fast in a couple weeks. That kicked them down to 14 in the country. So they were 3, slide all the way down to 14. A couple weeks later, they go to Memphis, and they lose again. Remember Paxton Lynch? Remember that name?
Yes.
Paxton Lynch threw 3 touchdowns that day. Kelly had 2 interceptions. He attempted 47 passes that day. For those of you out there that just want to see Texas throw the ball, I would remind Sark and the Longhorns, you're still going to need to run. You're still going to need to run. Please don't attempt 47 balls a game just because you think you should. They were -1 in turnovers, and the time of possession, 37 minutes for Memphis in that game. They let Paxton Lynch hold the ball for 37 minutes that day. Ole Miss just got sloppy and got on a roller coaster. That kicked them down to 24 in the country. But it's not over because a couple weeks later, they played Arkansas at home and they lost in overtime, 53-52. Remember when Arkansas just used to play overtime games every year because it felt like they should? Ketch, Brandon Allen threw 6 touchdowns against Ole Miss that day. Brandon Allen.
Don't beat Alabama in September is
No. If you beat Alabama in September, you better focus as you move forward and don't get yourself on a dumbass roller coaster. Don't get overconfident in your passing game. Make sure you keep running the ball and do not get sloppy. Because you know what Ole Miss does when they beat Bama? They make T-shirts all day. T-shirts everywhere. They get so pumped about Bama They just lost focus on the rest of it. That's what Texas can't do. By the end of the year, and by the way, Arkansas had 41 minutes of time of possession. I'm just going to, y'all know I love that stat. I'm just laying it out there. Ole Miss did, and it's weird, Ole Miss did run for 222 yards in that game, still somehow lost the ball game. That was a wacky game where Arkansas had 600 total yards. So the Texas defense obviously needs to continue to play well like they have, but eventually that Ole Miss team did work their way back into the ranking. They even finished top 10, Ketch. After their bowl game, they finished as a top 10 team. So I'm not saying there can't be a big down and a back up, but that's not what Texas fans want. Texas fans do not want that win to be lost eventually. It's like for you golfers out there, don't you hate it when you have a drive that goes like 320 right down the middle? You're dead in the middle of the fairway, and then your second shot sucks. You slice it into the water, you duff it, you scull it. You wasted your drive. Texas does not want to waste the win in Tuscaloosa by being up and down or ordinary afterwards. That can't happen. So the team Texas doesn't want to be is 2015 Ole Miss, because they were pretty damn good, and then they just got weird after they left Tuscaloosa. Strange up and downs for that team.
Don't want to be 2014 Ole Miss either. I mean,
probably not.
FYI.
Probably
By the
not.
way, I just went to Wikipedia to look at the 2014 Ole Miss deal because I was trying to remember the details of the situation that I got myself involved in with 2014 Ole Miss when their athletic director, Ross Bjork, got pissed off at me.
Right.
It was the game against Auburn. They lost 35-31. What triggered that was you said Laquan Treadwell.
Okay.
And I made a snide comment about Ole Miss, and people thought I was making fun of Laquan Treadwell getting injured. And it was like, well, no, like that was really unfortunate timing that my comment occurred while he was down on the field. All I had seen was the look on some of the Ole Miss faces when they were about to lose that game, made a comment about that. People didn't like it.
No, that was
I was told that weekend that racial issues in the state of Mississippi had been put behind them. And I was a jerk for referencing that Ole Miss had a sketchy racial history. It's not my fault that they just changed the mascot like a decade ago.
That is true. Yeah.
Why'd they do that? Because people thought it was a little racist.
Mm-hmm. Cody says Wyoming got 2 votes for the 25 spot. Fringe ranked matchup. Well, what are you going to do? Wyoming's all right. This isn't some horrible football team coming in. Texas definitely needs to be paying attention. So, again, Texas does not want to be 2015 Ole Miss.
I like this game this weekend. I'm talking myself in, Chad, to the idea that it's going to be an interesting game on a weekend when there aren't very many interesting matchups.
No, it's a game. I think it's going to tell us a lot about Texas. We're going to learn something about this team. South End Zone Queen, super chat $4.99. Brian Turner, so proud of you. Longtime lurker, infrequent participator. Chad and Ketch, love y'all. Wait,
does that mean that Brian Turner sent the message?
Maybe. I guess so.
What up, Brian?
South End Zone Queen wants to give Brian Turner some love. Go ahead, Brian. Enough. I haven't ever known a Bryan. You ever known one of those?
Yeah, I play fantasy football with a Bryan.
Okay. You got any breakdowns for me on a Bryan? Are they different than the other Bryans in any way?
They're usually country music singers.
Is that what it is?
My experience with Bryan is that they can all strum a guitar and sing country music.
Fair enough. Wow. All right. That's good. Good. Also, Ketch, I did some crap bag research.
Hold on.
Wait, hang on.
Paxton wants to know, did you get suspended?
Oh, here we go. Back to the Ole Miss story.
Paxton, what happened was I had to volunteer myself up a suspension. Yep. Like Yahoo and Rivals couldn't technically suspend me because I don't work for them. Let me tell you what happened. I get on the phone with my guy, Eric Winter from Rivals, and he was worried that this story would make it to Marissa Mayer's desk at the head of Yahoo, and that she would be like so bored of even having to deal with the little controversy that I found myself in. I volunteered to be suspended because they can't suspend me. And I learned something. He was like, here's the thing. Here's what he taught me about suspensions. He said, you always announce it as indefinite, because if you ever put a date on it, people will get upset and say, there will always be somebody who doesn't think it's enough time. You suspend him for a week, you didn't suspend him for a long enough time. You suspend him for 2 weeks, you didn't suspend him for a long enough time. You suspend him for a month, why didn't you fire him at that point, right? So what they had me do was volunteer to be suspended. You know what they call volunteering to be suspended? Taking a few days off. And I took a few days off, and what he said was, on Saturday, you can just come back off. You can just start posting again. You can start doing your thing again, and nobody will even notice. And by God, he was right. He was right. I came back on Saturday, just went back and resumed my duties as normal. But no, Paxton, technically I didn't get suspended because they didn't have the power to suspend me. I volunteered to take some time off, and we called it a suspension. Just so that everybody, it's been a decade. I can talk about that now, right?
I can't believe it's almost been 10 years. It was 2014.
Yes.
That's crazy. I can't believe it's almost been 10 years since that one.
And I'm going to let you know that every time I see a story from the state of Mississippi where somebody's been racist, I can't help myself.
Yeah. No,
because you will not believe the lectures that I got from people from the state of Mississippi who were like, I just can't believe you brought up this old history about the state of Mississippi having problems with racism. We're beyond that. This is a post-racism Mississippi. And I was like, wait a minute. You're Mississippi. You don't get to be mad when somebody calls out all of the blatant racism from the history of your state. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
They did, though. They clutched their pearls. Ross Bjork among the worst of them. Dude, your mascot was racist like 2 years ago. And you getting upset at me for pointing out that you guys have had a tad bit of problem in the state of Mississippi with racism. Anyway, Mississippi rant over.
And before someone asks on the chat, yes, that Ross Bjork, that is the AD at A&M today. Same guy.
That was the day that I knew that he would eventually be the Texas A&M athletic director, Chad. I was like, that dude's getting all in his feelings over me? Okay. Not because y'all lost a game, not because of the game. Turning into Allen Iverson here. Not a game.
Not a game.
But my comments after a game, okay. Because I'm apparently a horrible human being. We have a super chat. Let's just segue into this. Always wondered why Bryant Wesco Clemson wasn't ever mentioned in this class, being the number one receiver from Texas. Any communication or interest there given the issues at Clemson? Thanks for all you do. Got to be honest, WTV, I don't have Bryant Wesco anywhere near ranked as the number one receiver in the state of Texas. And, I mean, I don't want to slam on Bryant Wesco. That guy's just trying to go through school today and not, have stray shots hit him. Texas never really interested either. And I think, look, here's my thing with Wesco. I just don't think he's an elite athlete. I think that when you look at Bryant Wesco from a track standpoint, Bryant Wesco is a guy that's best time in the 100 meters is in the 11s, if I'm not mistaken. He's a great vertical athlete. I mean, he can climb the ladder and catch jump balls, but he's not a guy that I think creates a ton of separation. He's not a speedster by any stretch of the imagination. And so ultimately, that's my deal with Wesco, is I think he's a really good high school player. I think if you're looking for a guy who's going to into a jump ball situation, you can throw it up to him high, he'll go get it. But he's not one of these guys that I think gets separation cleanly. And I just don't think he's an elite of the elite athlete. And I think we know Sarkisian loves super fast guys. And that's not really what Bryant Wesco is. He's not a guy that's going to catch your eye with his ability to separate, quickness, speed, suddenness. But he's a really good player. He's a guy that can jump really high. And, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I feel like Forrest Gump. That's all I'm going to say about that. You want to bring in Jason Sukumel to talk some more recruiting?
I think I think the timing works perfectly. You got all primed up with a super chat, and we'll just jump right into it.
By the way, I don't have a true updated 100-meter time on Bryant Wesco, but when he was a sophomore, he ran a 12.61, which you need to shave about 2 seconds off of that bad boy, just so you know. All right, talking to Jason Sukumel from Orangebloods.com, a little football recruiting. Jason, let's just start here. You put in a couple of future casts this week on Brandon Baker and Ryan Wingo. Is that completely related to the A&M game or the Alabama game, excuse me? Coming out of that, did it just feel like the final lock on that recruitment for both of those guys?
Maybe a little bit of both games. Wingo was considering A&M a little bit too. So, pretty much, Ketch. I probably could have done it on Wingo last week. I talked to somebody very close to Ryan Wingo, the 5-star receiver out of St. Louis. This was on Thursday night, actually. And we were talking, and I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but he said, hey, if he was to decide today, it would be Texas. I'm pretty sure it would be Texas. So it just looks good for Texas. It looks good going back to last week. He's kind of been, I would say, probable to visit Texas this weekend for the Wyoming game, Ryan Wingo. I reached out to his dad on Sunday, and he's like, man, we are literally sitting here talking about it now. Hit me back. So I hit him back later in the day, and they are coming in this weekend. It's going to be Ryan Wingo, his dad, I think maybe 2 of his brothers, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So it's a big group of people that are coming in. It just looks good, man. I mean, it's kind of Texas and Missouri. You got some other places. I mentioned A&M, some places he might visit, but everybody seems to think it's Texas and Missouri. A month ago, Missouri had confidence. That's not really the case anymore. And this person I talked to on Thursday said, hey, man, if he was going to commit to Missouri, he could be collecting NIL money already. He hasn't done it. He's not going to do it anytime soon with Missouri. So, Ryan himself is saying he's going to wait till December. So there's still lots of room for movement there potentially. But I'm not saying it's going to happen, dude, but I will be on slight commitment watch this weekend with him coming in with his family. If Texas can blow him away on the field and just everything else they can present, it's not out of the question that he comes in or leaves town this weekend. Brandon Baker, I just think that one's been trending to Texas for a while. You and I have talked about that quite a bit. He's going to decide in 11 days. So I was like, I better go ahead and get my pick in. If I think it's going to be Texas, I do think it's going to be Texas on the standout offensive lineman.
Hey, Jason, just as a quick follow-up, I just saw the news of another 5-star coming in this weekend. You want to give us the update on the young man from Duncanville and maybe just talk a little bit about the guest list for this weekend's game against Wyoming. You mentioned Wingo. It's turning into, weirdly, a pretty big recruiting weekend for the Longhorns.
Wingo's the big one, and another one we just mentioned. And literally, guys, like right before I came on the air with y'all, I sent out about 100 DMs and text messages to recruit. So we'll be adding to our recruiting list, our visit list throughout today and tomorrow. But just Decorian Moore, the 5-star receiver out of Duncanville, of course, committed to LSU very recently. He's coming in for the game this weekend, dude. When he committed to LSU, Ketch, and I'd have to pull up his profile. Maybe you have it. I don't remember the exact date. It was right after Colin Simmons committed to Texas, actually, shortly. It was that week after. But it just didn't make a lot of sense, the timing of it and why he would do it so early. He's a 5-star guy. I feel like you're losing a lot of your leverage in terms of NIL opportunities, taking visits, things of that nature. One person DM'd me and was like, hey, dude, it's going to be Ruben Owens-esque, meaning he's going to take a lot of visits. He's going to probably commit and decommit to a lot of places. Well, he's still committed to LSU, Decorian Moore is, but he's going to be at the Texas game on Saturday evening. Cole Patterson of Rivals.com actually broke that scoop a little bit ago, put it on Orange Blood. So nice little scoop there and a huge development for Texas. I mean, Decorian Moore, listen, he's arguably the best player in the state. probably him or Devin Sanchez. Before anyone asks, Devin Sanchez is not visiting anywhere this weekend. I did communicate with his dad. They're taking the weekend off from visits. But DeCorian Moore, I mean, one of the best players in the country. He's been killing it this fall already. So he'll be on campus this weekend. As far as the visit list, it's going to be quite a few committed guys. I know Trey Owens will be there, Parker Livingstone, Jordan Washington, the tight end, Zena Amozola will be there, the recent defensive line commit, Ryan Wingo, DeCorian Moore we talked about. Another elite receiver, Taz Williams out of Red Oak, 2025 kid will be there. Michael Fasusi, a guy that I think has as much upside as anybody in this class in 2025. Offensive lineman out of Louisville, told me he's trying to get down to the game, so he's still kind of working out the details. Lamont Rogers, Ketch, a dude you love. Most people now are finding out about him, a potential 5-star offensive lineman. As of yesterday, he was trying to figure out a way to get to the game, but it wasn't locked in yet. But Kobe Sellers, elite defensive back, he'll be there. I got a few other names, but that list will continue to grow tonight into tomorrow.
Jason, you made a reference to, I mean, obviously Ketch was asking about Texas and Bama, but there was a little reference to A&M and Miami as well. Those kind of weekends fascinate me in terms of both teams having a little bit of a spotlight on them at the same time. Big road games. We got one coming up in a few weeks where one's going to play Oklahoma in a rival game. The other's going to host Alabama on that same weekend. Give me a sense for, you mentioned Wingo, but like, I think of a guy like Kobe Black, where A&M has been mentioned in the discussion, although I know a lot of you guys think Texas is going to be probably, would be a leader right now. But do those things seem to matter to these guys going into a big weekend and what each team does? Because clearly the Longhorns had a great weekend and the Aggies really disappointed.
Yeah, and I wrote about that yesterday, Chad, and it kind of set up perfectly for Texas because the A&M game ended right when Texas was beginning, and people could just transition, recruits, fans could transition from one game to the next. By and large, recruits will tell you, one game doesn't make a huge difference, okay? Ketch and I've been doing this a long time, and I've talked to kids after Texas got waxed by Oklahoma back in the day, and people go into a state of panic. And you call them and they say, nah, it's one game. Everybody loses. Let's see how they bounce back. There's a lot of season to be played. Recruits are a little more level-headed sometimes than fans. But this one has a different feel, man. I mean, I feel like recruits have been watching Texas almost like it feels like a powder keg that's ready to explode, okay? A&M has recruited really well, but they haven't been able to get over that hump on the field. And recruits notice that too. So I feel like this one's a little bit different. I think it really did give Texas a shot in the arm. A&M obviously hit a pretty big pothole there in Miami. Now, all that being said, Chad, you know it as well as I do. Recruiting can be very fickle and momentum can change in a hurry. So Texas has got to back it up, right? They got to go out this weekend against Wyoming, a decent Wyoming team, but a game they should win pretty handily. They got to back it up there. They need to beat Oklahoma in a couple weeks. You mentioned A&M will have a chance to right the ship. Certainly when Alabama comes down and makes some waves of their own. Recruiting can change from week to week, but right now, absolutely, Texas is the hot team that everybody's talking about. In fact, Michael Fasusi, I mentioned, he was at Oklahoma last week. This is an elite offensive lineman. But he found a way. He must have been on his phone or something watching the Texas game because they were going on about the same time. And he's like, man, Texas that's where it's at, dude. It's really cooking at Texas. It almost sounded like he was more interested in what he saw in watching clips of the Texas game than being in the stands for Oklahoma's win over SMU. Kobe Black, I do think that's Texas and A&M kind of going neck and neck. I think Texas is the team to beat there. You saw Colin Simmons on social media today was tweeting at Kobe Black and Ryan Wingo and like, hey, dudes, let's go. When's it time? And Kobe Black just a few minutes ago tweeted a couple hourglass things. So that one could pop at any point. I think a game like last week only helps Texas. And I don't want to say it solidifies it because he's still uncommitted, but I think that one looks really good for Texas.
Jason, from a flip standpoint, it's a question you and I get all the time, right? Like no sooner was that game over than like questions started popping in of who's Sark going to flip. It's kind of a fair question because they've done such a good job the last couple of years of doing exactly that. Other than Dominic McKinley, who the moment he committed, we were already talking about when his season ends, he could be a guy to keep an eye on. Are there any guys that you think are obvious guys to watch?
Miles Davis is a name that's been mentioned quite a bit. Sorry, guys, I'm getting a bunch of messages coming in. The guy,
You or me? I was like,
no, it's me. It's all these. I told you I sent about 100 DMs, so they're getting a lot of them coming back. But Miles Davis out of Converse Judson committed to A&M. Ketch, we thought that one might go Texas's way to begin with. I think Texas will have a chance to flip some guys if things go well. It's really hard to predict who those guys are going to be. I mean, listen, they're going to hit A&M. I mean, you look at A&M's commitment list, they're going to try to hit some of those guys. Anthony Smith, that's a guy I need to check with, to be honest with you. He committed to A&M, linebacker out of Jasper, but he always really liked Texas. They were in his final three. It ended up coming down to Texas A&M, and USC. But I could see Anthony Smith giving Texas a look, depending on how things kind of trend with Texas and A&M moving forward. I'm just going to throw this one out there. It's a wild rumor. It caught me off guard. I still need to kind of track it down. Ketch, this is going to be a surprise to you. I've heard, again, I don't know how the validity, but I've heard keep an eye on Draylon Miller, the Texas A&M wide receiver commitment. So, I need to check the validity of that one, but they'll try to poach some guys from Texas A&M, from Oklahoma, from LSU. Bo Davis might try to go into the Southeast and poach some guys that are committed elsewhere. We talked about DeCorian Moore coming in this weekend. Of course, he's a 2025 guy. But, yeah, this staff is not afraid to stay in it with guys that are committed elsewhere and continue to recruit those guys until the whistle.
Jason,
Miller was a guy they really didn't touch at all.
That's why this one doesn't make a ton of sense to me. When I was told that, I was like, I need to really kind of triple check that one, because he wasn't that interested in Texas. They didn't recruit him that hard whenever he committed to A&M.
And you said he's a receiver, Jason?
Yes.
Correct. He's a receiver, yeah.
That's a fascinating position for me moving forward with these two teams, because I've said right now, if they played this year, I think it's easily the greatest collection of receivers on both sides ever. I don't even think it's a close discussion. So how receivers perceive these two offenses, the programs, the coaches, what Petrino's trying to prove in College Station, what I would argue Sark just proved on Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. If I'm a receiver, Jason, if I'm a badass 5-star receiver paying attention, and those are two schools I care about, I mean, it's a wild discussion to look at.
I've always thought, and we've seen it come to fruition to some degree, but if you're a receiver, why wouldn't you want to play in Steve Sarkisian's offense? Unless you're going to play for Lincoln Riley, right? I mean, but if you're a receiver or a quarterback, you should be chomping at the bit to play in those offenses. So, A&M has recruited the position really well, and they're recruiting it really well again this year. They've got, if I pull it up, they've got 5 receivers committed. Only two from the state of Texas. They got 3 out-of-state receivers that are, really good. A&M continues to recruit that receiver position well, as they have the last year and the year before with Evan Stewart. But they, it's just they haven't been able to put it all together. Maybe it's a quarterback play or whatever, but it just hasn't transitioned or into dynamic play on the field. Maybe they'll get there. They got a young quarterback. They're going to probably continue to improve on offense. But you're right, Texas opened a lot of eyes last week on national television in the game of the week.
Jason, anything recruiting wise that we haven't asked you yet that you feel like we need to? We're kind of at a weird time, man. Like there really aren't a large number of 2024 targets still out there for Texas. We talked about the 3 of the big ones in Baker, Wingo, and Kobe Black. Everybody keeps asking me, how's this class going to finish up? I'm like, remember way back when, Ketch, like back in the spring or something, we were hearing, hey, it's going to be a full class, like 25, right? I don't know how Texas gets to 25 at this point unless they have several flips, which is very possible. And you know what? If they don't get to 25, it's not the end of the world. I mean, Texas, they're not going to reach for guys just for the sake of reaching for guys. Micah Hudson, of course, we didn't talk about that. He committed to Texas Tech on, was that Monday or was that Sunday night? I don't remember what day. Was it Monday? And yeah, that's right. Because I was on with Anwar on Tuesday, and people were talking about, was that a calculated move by Texas Tech to get him to commit? Texas Tech's 0-2. Hey, let's kind of get some positive mojo here. Let's get Micah Hudson to commit. I was told, Micah commits out of the blue, right? He announces it out of the blue. Truthfully, guys, he had been a silent commitment for several months, but he announces his commitment out of the blue. I hit up one of our guys at Red Raider Sports and be like, hey, did you see the Micah news? Even he was unprepared. He goes, no, what? And I said, he committed. So, of course, they start doing their thing.
he hits me back about an hour later. He goes, dude, the Texas Tech coaches didn't even know that Micah Hudson was going to commit that night. So Micah just kind of does his own thing. But, you know, a lot of Texas fans, there's been a lot of talk about Micah Hudson. You know, maybe he shows up on campus at some point. But if things go as well as I think they will with Ryan Wingo this weekend, I don't know that Micah Hudson's in play for Texas. But, you know, we're still kicking the tires, Ketch, to see some new names that might – we're only a couple of weeks into the high school season too, so to see some new names that might emerge, maybe a flip candidate or a late bloomer. But it's pretty zeroed in on a handful of prospects left on UT's radar for that 2024 class.
Jason, you know who I think earlier this week I had the thought it's not apples for apples, but there is a little bit of the Zach Evans, Bijan Robinson recruitment where Zach Evans was easily the guy, right? He was easily at one point. Anwar had a note in the war room in the early part of that recruiting year. And it was like, who's the 5 most important, Chad? The thing was, who are the 5 most important targets for the Longhorns in recruiting? And it was Zach Evans, Zach Evans, Zach Evans, Zach Evans, and Zach Evans.
And that wasn't Anwar saying it, to be clear. That was like a key source.
It was him reporting from a source.
Yeah.
They end up pivoting to Bijan Robinson after that happens, after it became kind of clear that, boy, they just didn't know how that recruitment with Zach Evans was going to go. They felt like maybe that was just one they weren't going to get for a lot of different reasons. So they pivot to Bijan. Again, it's not the same thing, but
pretty similar, man. And they're out-of-state players. We all know Bijan's character now, right? Like just an amazing person. I don't know Ryan Wingo as well as I knew Bijan and Bijan's coach back then, but what I know of Ryan Wingo in talking to his dad and just people around him, high character dude, out-of-state prospect, elite prospect. It is pretty similar. I've never really thought of it like that, but there are a lot of similar plot lines there. Yeah.
They pivot to an out-of-state 5-star player at the same position. And you almost get the sense that if they get Ryan Wingo, certainly they would take Micah Hudson, right? If Micah Hudson wanted to come in late, but I don't get the sense they're going to break their back to go get Micah Hudson for kind of the same reasons. Once they got Bijan, if they really feel like they've got Ryan Wingo, I don't think they're going to want to do anything that's going to get in the way of them upsetting the apple cart with Wingo when it seems like they're really close to pulling that one off. Again, not apples to apples, but maybe like those, maybe like a red apple to a green apple kind of a thing.
Grapes to raisins, right?
Yeah.
Things that go on in my head when nobody's around. I'm thinking about red apples and green apples.
One other quick thing, Jason, from me, I want you to comment on with Hudson. I was just floored to read that Texas Tech's never had a 5-star. That's never had I guess it maybe not a commitment, but certainly a signing from a 5-star. Do you think for Joey McGuire that could really be the opening of a door, or could it just be a, hey, look, we signed a 5-star?
They better get off this 0-2 skid if they want to have any hope of signing anymore. You know, listen, I Texas Longhorn fans are going to hate me for saying this, but I really like Joey McGuire. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's a really good recruiter, and he's got a good recruiting staff. But it's always going to be hard to recruit those kinds of players to Texas Tech and to Lubbock. Honestly, with the next 5-star Joey McGuire signs, if he signs Micah Hudson, the next one probably will be somewhere other than Texas Tech, if I'm being honest. So I think Joey's not long for Texas Tech.
Oh, man, those Tech fans are going to be in your mentions.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you talk logic?
Yeah.
Don't bring logic to a recruiting fight. What are you doing?
But I do like Joe. I think Joey's doing a good job. They're 0-2, but they'll get that thing turned around. And I mean, he'll recruit well. I mean, recruits do connect with him. But getting 5-stars to Lubbock, I mean, as you said, it's not easy. Micah's a different cat, dude. I've been saying that for months. He's an interesting kid, a really good kid, but he just doesn't really go by the normal tendencies that you seem to expect from teenage recruits. So for him to break the mold and be the first one to go to Texas Tech isn't too surprising.
All right, Jason Sukumo, Orangebloods.com. Jason, I know you got things to do, places to be by 3 o'clock. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time. And oh, by the way, there is the 60-day free trial tentatively scheduled to end tonight. Let me make sure. Let me see. Okay, it's officially running through Friday night, so you got a little bit of time to take advantage of it. 60-day free trial. Use that QR code right there. Just scan it. Use that promo code Texas Arrives, and you can read all about the recruits that Jason just mentioned here. We've got all wall-to-wall coverage on all of that stuff. Jason, go be a dad.
All right, guys. Thanks, man.
You got it. Jason Sucamel, managing editor of Orangebloods.com. Just so you know, Chad, when I took my voluntary suspension from Mississippi, that Mississippi situation, Jason just did all the work for me.
Is that right?
Yeah, he just took over. It was almost as if I didn't matter.
Wow.
It could just run seamlessly without me.
I'm sure that wasn't the case. He just stepped up. He's like a good, two-hitter. Leadoff man gets banged up. You just step in, and they never notice the difference because you're that good of a two-hitter.
There you go.
That's what it was.
There you go.
And
It's like Joe Montana getting injured and Steve Young coming off the bench.
That's it.
Like,
Exactly.
Maybe that Steve Young guy is actually better than Joe Montana.
It's not that you weren't Ricky Henderson. It's just he was a badass number two. I mean, come on.
Yes.
Number two hitter.
There it is. Hey, real quick, let's tell everybody about Specs before we start wrapping things up. They've only been around for 61 years. Isn't that right, Chad?
That is pretty good math. I think you're right on that.
1962?
Uh-huh.
They've been around. Texas, family-owned since 1962. They're a 4-time National Retailer of the Year. Look, the bottom line is you're going to be either tailgating this weekend or cooking out. I didn't say barbecuing, Chad.
No.
Some people cook.
You can smoke. Yeah.
If you're cooking or smoking or barbecuing, let them help you out. Go to specsonline.com. Same day delivery. You can skip lines. You can skip the parking. You can skip all of that and just let them do all the work by going to the website and take advantage of that same day delivery when it comes to preseason tailgating or postseason tailgating or midseason tailgating. Specs is the number one playmaker in Texas. Lower prices, stadium size selection. Get everything you need right there. specsonline.com.
Yep. There's a reason the American Dream Dusty Rhodes used to talk about cooking and smoking, Jack, because he knew those were the two words you put together. If you're cooking and smoking, Specs is your place. I always remind you, your grocery store does not have the beer selection Specs does. If you're a beer snob, you need to be going to Specs. The wine, spirits, finer foods, all the different stuff. If you're like me and you're into the vodka side of the world, they've got all the vodkas you could ever dream of right there at Specs. If you get the Specs app on your phone, you could even have those vodkas or beers or whatever sent to you. It's really convenient, really easy to do.
I got a pop quiz for you.
Pop quiz.
I'm not a beer drinker.
Okay.
It wouldn't be if I'm going to Specs to go shopping. That's not my cup of tea.
Okay.
But on my 21st birthday, Andy Lascano at a strip club bought me a beer. What kind of beer did he buy me at the strip club?
Andy Lascano at the strip club is just the start of a great story. When you were 21,
we were at that strip club that's near Pflugerville off I-35.
Like, the one that was it Rick's Cabaret at one point? Or
I can't remember, but
yeah, okay.
It's the one.
I'm gonna say he got you a Lone Star.
Anybody else want to take a gander? The only beer I've ever had purchased for me ever in my life.
It's the only beer anyone's ever bought for you.
It may be the only beer. I mean, I can remember being a teenager and like sipping on a beer at a party and it just wasn't my thing. So it's literally the only beer I've ever had purchased for me or purchased for myself.
All right. So I'll guess now one of my favorites, and I'll guess it's something in the Coors family. What about Coors Light or Coors Heavy?
Heineken.
Oh, dear God.
The only beer I've ever had.
Dude, Andy Lascano
that I've consumed from beginning to end.
It's kind of a fancy beer. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Only beer. Yeah, I don't like beer. It's not my thing, but once upon a time, I had a Heineken.
I'm just going to tell you, I think that meant that Andy Lascano liked you. Because if he didn't, he'd have gone cheaper than that. That's that. I mean, for its day, for that moment, I don't think that's a cheap beer. I don't think he took the cheap option.
Can I tell you one more? 21st, that same night at Andy Lascano's apartment, a female dancer came over on my 21st birthday to give us a show.
Whoa. The private house show?
Personalized, and it was an in-home visit, if you will. And so it turns out like half the TV station from KI42 goes to Andy Lascano's apartment at the time to participate in this in-home visit from one of Austin's finest.
Was there a trained monkey involved by any chance?
No. But there was a guy named Wills that worked at the station who decided he was going to give an in-home visit to the in-home visitor. So he decided he was going to dance for the dancer.
Oh, dear God.
And so there's a point where he's like taking his shirt off and he's giving a dance to the dancer. And then we hear a knock at the door.
Uh-huh.
Andy peeks out through the door, and I have video of this that I've recently found on a super VHS tape that I'm going to get switched over to digital so we can all watch it and laugh about it. Andy goes, "It's the fuzz," as if all of the words to describe the police, the fuzz.
Not cops, not police. The fuzz.
The dancer, Austin, one of Austin's finest, runs into like the bathroom of the apartment. All that's left is the rest of us guys and Wills. And if I can set the picture for you properly, Wills was the only black guy in the apartment.
Okay.
And when the police came, he was half dressed. And when Andy opens the door to the apartment complex, all the cops see is a group of white guys in a semicircle around Wills, who's half naked. And I don't know what they thought was happening.
Yeah. There's a lot
they did not want to come in.
They did not.
They did not want to write a ticket. All they wanted to do was leave. So we get the knock at the door. They take a look at what's happening and they're like, yeah, fellas, can you just keep it down? And then they got the hell out of there as fast as they could.
Can we just have less of this?
And what this looked a heck of a lot worse than what was actually happening.
That's funny.
Because when they opened the door, what they thought was happening was the kind of thing like, I don't know, back in the day in the Austin Chronicle, you could go to remember the back page of the Chronicle? Back in the day, you could just buy stuff, order human beings. It looked like a bunch of guys had ordered a very specific male dancer to come put on a show. And for the record, on my 21st birthday, that is not what I wanted.
That is not what you wanted. No. I'll ask the really dumb question here, but like, if the dancer had been dancing when they opened the door, what's wrong with that? Why would she run away?
I have no idea.
Nope.
But the thing is, we had one of the station cameras on Andy's bed, and it was pointed in the direction of the party. So the whole thing got recorded. The whole thing. And I haven't watched it in 20 plus years. But now, because we did the videos that we got converted over to digital, I'm going to get that converted over to digital. I might put the whole thing on the internet.
Wow. That is
the whole thing.
That is bold.
Half naked dancer, both of them, man and woman, as case would have it. The police showing up. It's the fuzz. The whole thing. The whole thing.
The fuzz. I just like that all of a sudden, like a phrase from 1952 showed up to make it extra weird.
It was carry the one. I was born. So it was 1997.
Okay.
When that happened.
97's when it happens, and a statement out of the 50s showed up. That's the fuzz. Hey guys, that's the fuzz. What are we gonna do?
Well, I know this. When he said it's a fuzz, she didn't ask questions. She went straight. She went to go get dressed.
Yeah, and it is one of those phrases. Let's be honest. If I'm at a party and somebody screams out, "It's the cops," I could be drinking water and doing nothing, and I might still run. You know, it's a phrase that makes you move. It's the cops. A lot of people are going to move in that case.
This might be the best super chat of the week.
Here we go.
We need the next 2 minute short for OB Live commercial breaks. Do it, Ketch.
Oh, that video, you breaking it down. This Orangebloods recruiting
We could get
flashback
Johnny Harris to break it down.
follows the Geoff Ketchum recruitment into alcohol.
Imagine we launched that first at 6:30 in the morning just to catch everybody off.
Admit it, you guys want to see the video.
Oh my God, I do. Yeah, sure.
All right, well, let's wrap it up, Chad. I'm tired. I'm ready to wrap things up. It's been a fun day. We got Alex coming up at 3:30 with Friends with Football. Anything else we need to say or do?
Yeah, I think Adam Dunn needs a mention. 9:15 tonight on the Outsiders show. Adam Dunn is scheduled to join us, and we'll just see what happens. Chance Mock will see if he can get him into some weird stories, and I will ask I will ask Adam Dunn the question Ketch wants me to ask, which is the rumor true that Major Applewhite wants baked cookies for Greg Davis on a regular basis, and that pissed you off? That's the question Geoff Ketchum would like me to ask Adam Dunn.
Real quick, do you want to hear my crazy lady story with Jason Sukumel? It'll take 2 minutes.
Sure. You mean crazy lady like a literal lady, or the place called a crazy lady?
Isn't the crazy lady that was the place like under I-35, like on 35th Street?
Yes, I think you're right.
Yes.
Okay.
So we went to that place once because Jason and I used to do things like that. And we were sitting there one night, and out of the corner of my eye, there's a little person, a man, a little man.
Yeah.
I don't know the right way. I don't want to get in trouble, but it was a little person.
I think you're good. It's 2023. I believe little person is appropriate.
And this little male person had two of the most beautiful pair of breasts that you've ever seen in your life. I mean, perfect breasts. And he's wearing a pink tutu. And he's just walking around the club, and like people are giving him tips.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a little freaked out by it. But I'm
Okay.
completely sober because I wasn't drinking, and I don't drink beer. And so
thank you for that
I'm fully
definition.
aware of my surroundings, and I'm
I
like,
was totally
wow.
sober because I wasn't drinking.
Sukumel's getting to dance, and he's not paying attention at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know, oh boy, I'm hoping that Sukumel doesn't see the little person with the perfect boobs. He like leans his head over. He sees the little person with boobs. It's too bad he's not on with us right now. He could completely confirm this story.
I think he's glad he's not.
And he goes, look, it's a guy with tits. And they're beautiful.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
That's my crazy lady story.
All right. That's what we call wrapping up a show, kids. That's what we call wrapping up a show on Orangebloods Live. You will not hear show wrap-ups like that anywhere else. We can guarantee you, for better or worse. Tonight at 9, it's the Outsiders. 3:30, it's Football with Friends. Ben says, Ketch, do you realize the sentences that are coming out of your mouth?
I do.
Yeah.
I ain't scared. I keep it a buck. You guys ask questions, I give answers.
Yep. No one really asked that one, but all right.
Somebody brought up the crazy horse.
Oh, somebody did say crazy
I
lady.
asked, do you want my one crazy lady, excuse me. You want my one crazy lady story? Because I've got one. That's it.
Yeah. Be honest, though. If I'd have said no, you'd have still told the story, right? Like, it's not like I did that. I didn't create that
If you
moment.
had
Did I?
said, Geoff, don't. Just don't. I might have listened to you.
When have you ever listened if I've ever said Ketch, don't?
When have you ever said don't?
You're right. I usually just push you towards the problem. Yeah.
To be fair, that wasn't what happened this time.
You're right.
You
I
did not
usually
poke
just
the hornet's nest.
yeah,
I volunteered the Hornets.
for better or worse, normally when you start with do you want to hear this story? Normally I just say, well, yeah, sure, let's go.
I like that JD is such a degenerate that's the thing that keeps him coming back for more.
You
Love
darn
you, JD. I'm right there with you.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
it, JD. All right.
You can say goodbye now.
We're done. It's a Thursday show tomorrow, which means we hope to talk to Brian Jones at 1:20 tomorrow from CBS Sports. They've got the big South Carolina-Georgia game. Plus, he is going to be basking in the Longhorn victory over Alabama. So hopefully that's tomorrow at 1:20.
By the way, when you ask those questions to Adam Dunn later, let's make it clear Chance Mock is not the one that told me those stories.
Okay. All right.
I don't
enough.
want, like, if Adam's like, how did that come up? No, that never happened. Who told you that? Just for the record, it was not Chance Mock. It
Not
was
Chance
a
Mock. Not giving up.
non-Texas athlete. It was not an athlete.
Not an athlete. Okay, not an athlete. Can't give up the source, but not an athlete. We can confirm that.
Yes.
Fair enough. All right. We'll do that tonight at 9. Thank you for supporting Orangebloods Live, up to 17,000 subscribers and counting. We thank you for that. Get your notifications and get ready for Football with Friends coming up at 3:30. Until 12 noon tomorrow when all of this is going to happen again.